Graveyard Keeper has become one of my favorite games of all time. It struck me initially as a simple pixel art game where I buried some corpses in a graveyard, but these humble beginnings quickly paved the way to an exceptionally compelling story, one in which I am interconnected to an ancient curse that is returning and devastating this mysterious world. The twists and turns in this narrative are incredibly memorable, entertaining and melancholy, one that kept me on the edge of my chair the entire time. Join me for this feature-length film with your snacks and beverages, beginning with the primary goal of returning home and reuniting with my love. I played 300 days of Graveyard Keeper. Our story begins on a rainy evening. I'm buying stuff at the servo, Gaza is serving me and remarked about the cute teddy bear I was purchasing for my love. I get a call from that special someone, and for a brief moment, my attention was led astray. Everything happens for a reason. A shadowy figure tells me to keep calm and that I've merely turned a page in my life, that my new home is a graveyard and that I am now a graveyard keeper. I was instructed to dig up Jerry and he'll sort everything out. The next thing I know, I woke up in a strange bed in a strange house, but with the explicit instructions to dig up Jerry. It seems this golden arrow will lead me to this purpose. Outside this unfamiliar cottage, I'm greeted by a rundown property with some swampy views to further dampen the mood. However, I follow my gut, which is actually this golden arrow, and it directs me to excavate the earth here. Holy Sodom, a skull! It turns out this talking skull is in fact Jerry, but it took a moment for him to realize who he was. As he was continuing to reminisce, he is interrupted by a familiar sound, which was a bell chime, and then a donkey as he was hopping down the path. As any normal human, I greeted the donkey in a cordial manner, and was surprised that it spoke back. Hey buddy, how are we? Got a fresh corpse from the town. Wow, a talking donkey. You can understand me. With a brief discussion, I can ascertain that Donkey is an anti-capitalist. In fact, he is a communist, as he refers to me as comrade, and that he delivers corpses from a town for a measly 5 carats per day. He plops this one down gently and will return with another one soon. Hey, what are you staring at? Grab that juicy corpse while it's still fresh. Jerry suggests we take this body to the morgue, but I'm pretty sure it'll be fun. It might be profitable. I'm going to puke. Jerry continues to instruct me to slice some flesh from the body, and my guy seems very unenthusiastic about this endeavor. But I reluctantly agree so long as he tells me how to get home. I slap this corpse down and get to work, and after I complete the duty, I'm standing here with fresh human flesh on my person, and then I learn a few new cooking recipes. Lovely, I enjoy a little bit of cannibalism. Burger, sandwich, and baked meat. The only meat I have is the flesh. Okay, that sounds delicious. I take the deceased to the graveyard next door. I designate a burial location and put this poor fleshless fellow to rest. Jerry congratulates me on a job well done. I receive a burial certificate, and this seems to mean money and alcohol to the talking skull. Another visitor comes to the graveyard, and it turns out it's the bishop, but also my boss. He seems surprised to see me and says that I've been expected for 30 years. He then gets judgmental all of a sudden and says my graveyard is a mess and that I need to fix it up before giving me a promotion, which makes absolutely no sense to me. He claims the quality needs to be at least 5 before this can happen. I guess I don't have to worry about sending out resumes, I'm already employed. The bishop will come by again next week on the Purple Day. But while he's here, I ask him about that certificate, and apparently I can trade it to the village for monetary compensation, and that's how I get paid as the graveyard keeper because of an ancient contract or something. Before I find out what I need to do next, I examine a few tech trees I have, and these look quite extensive and exciting. The game has a lot you can do and learn. But I can't do anything without the right tools, so I help myself to the previous keeper's stuff in this trunk. I make myself look busy in front of my boss by clearing out some weeds, and this drains my energy bar. Quite rapidly, in fact. With 21 negative quality, I have my work cut out for me. I take a walk following this golden arrow, which takes me past a place called Witch's Hill, which is guarded and closed until another day. I continue east through a huge wheat field, and I find myself in a village, and this place looks like it's from the Middle Ages. I'm led into the tavern, and I have a chat to Horadric, who is the owner of the Dead Horse Tavern, which sounds awesome. I can talk to this fella about the burial certificates, and he says because of an ancient contract, he is obligated to trade money for them, but he whinges that money is short and times are tough. tough enough that he is willing to purchase the fresh meat in my pockets, given that I have the right stamp of approval for it, which is something I don't have at this point. Horadric seems upset at this missed opportunity, which indicates that the village is going through tough times. He says I can talk to someone called Snake to get a fake stamp, which sounds quite illegal. He also asks me to send a letter to the local blacksmith called Kresvold, which I could do, I guess, but not before ignoring his money woes and selling him the certificate for 1 silver and 50 copper. I played a little bit before this recording, so I'm very well aware of this teleportation stone, so I will be back for this shortly. But not before visiting the blacksmith, who sends me on a little errand to kill some slimes. I demonstrate my superhuman prowess and further my conversation with the fella about location of metal ores. He says I can find some to the west in the swamp. It's late, so I head home and realize that the bishop is an absolute beast. He can push me like a ragdoll. Jerry jump scares me from behind the bush and tells me some useful info like gathering and preparing meals. He also knows how I can get home, but he wants a bear as a trade for this information. I'm not going to worry about that just now, there's plenty of foraging to be done. Now, there's this garden here, but for commercial use I need to speak to Horadric again. Pretty keen for some farming, I reckon. I go to my home and my cellar, which is an absolute mess, but I hear someone else is lurking down here. They seem to be adamant about getting through here, but to get to him, I need to clear these paths. All this rubble down here holds a few bits and pieces, but especially some flour, which is really appreciated. But with all this cleaning, I'm out of energy and unable to complete any more actions. I hop into bed to regenerate energy, and in the early days of this game, sleeping is the best method to replenish energy, but you lose timing doing so. A talking skull, and now I see a ghost. Well, he seems friendly enough, but he asks me to dig up a mean fellow in the graveyard and dispose of the body in the river. Well, I've already let a talking skull persuade me to cut flesh from a body, so this just seems like the next logical step. Let's just quickly make this... Goodbye, person. Jerry catches me and suggests the best way to get rid of an unwanted body was burning it, which is rational, I guess, especially when the river leads into town. I go and complete the spring cleaning downstairs and get a few tech points, which is a good place to tell you about them. There are red points, which you get from crafting and working with materials, green points, which is working with nature, and blue points, which is knowledge about spiritualism. Red and green are plentiful, but the blue will come into play later. For now, cleaning up my workspace outside gives me green and red points. It's also a foggy day, which adds to the immersion of a graveyard. I chop down my first tree and transport the logs to my log pile so I can work with it later. I make myself some baked mushrooms, draw some water from this well, which gives me a bucket of water. I then pour the water out of the bucket and into my pockets, so that I have actual water, which is damn reasonable to me. I use water and flour to make dough, which I'm going to use to make bread. I'm going to need energy if I want to work towards getting all these workstations. I spend my first tech points unlocking the sawhorse, chopping block, and stoneworking. While I gather what I need, I'm interrupted by what's going to become an incredibly familiar sound to me. Oh, we got another body. I make my first sawhorse, and I can make a few things with this crafting station. But what about that body though? Hey buddy, just dumps him in the road. Hello Jerry, you're still not talking to me, are you? Hey buddy, hey, where's my bear? Mate, I'll get you your bear, bugger off. Looks like more flesh can be extracted, but taking something isn't the only thing I can do. Insert? Can I insert something? Can you put the meat... I'll just put this flesh back into the body. That's amazing. For now, I keep the juicy flesh and bury my second body. I pick up my baked bread and catch a little bit of shut-eye. It's day 3 and Yorick the ghost appears again and thanks me on a job well done. He also tells me about quality of corpses and what determines if it's good or bad. It's the white skulls and the red skulls, which are good deeds and sins respectively, so I'll keep my eye on that next time. He says good bodies and good decorations is what makes a graveyard look good. Here's a tutorial if you wanted to have a quick squiz. Now Jerry wanted a bear, so I was about to buy one, but then Horadric gives me one because I helped Kresfeld before, which was really convenient. I ask him about the garden, and he says that I need to speak to the merchant for proper details. I have permission to grow crops there in the interim, as he has the authority to at least let me do that. The merchant comes to trade with the villagers on these days, so I'll keep an eye open. You know what else is convenient? A teleport stone for 2 silver. The map is rather large, and you can see there's still a lot of unexplored areas. To the east of the village, I find a guy that lives in a cauldron. Well, don't judge. He says if I bring him honey, he will teach me how to make cake, which is a sweet deal. I steal some apples and I see I'm being watched. Oh, there's a guy over here. Headbutt? No, he went inside. I was just about to talk to him and everything. Maybe next time. This area has a lot of berries, which is good news for my lacking energy. I explore north and I find a campsite with one individual. This gypsy baron can teach me kebabs if I bring him fish. When I'm done exploring, I use my teleportation stone, which is the best item in the game by far. It saves so much time. Just outside my house, Jerry is losing what's left of his mind about an inquisitor. I promise to go distract the offending individual. On the way there, I claim this garden for my own purposes, which is going to be very nice. I meet the inquisitor and let him know I'm the new graveyard keeper. He understands I'm new here and asks me to join him for a witch burning ceremony. We make small talk and I decide to be honest with this bloke about where I'm from. My honesty is the best policy. Actually, I'm from another world. I'm not entirely sure how I got here. I don't think it's an appropriate time for jokes, and I don't appreciate your general demeanor. Ooh, okay, that was not the good answer. The Inquisitor is a man of faith. He protects it and humankind itself, he says. His concerns are the dark cult rising and burning as many witches and heretics as he can lay his holy hands on, and they all end up on this pyre. As I'm new, he suggests we be friends. Actually, he wants me to be a mole, but I agree so as to not end up on the pyre myself. He will be back on this day and asks me to come back next week to see him. There's been a lot of excitement, so I catch some sleepy time, and that's also how I save the game. When I wake up, I see a pretty shriveled up body that I need to deal with. Well, it's already too late, I might as well give Jerry his beer now. But he's not happy with it, it's pretty weak beer. But he answers my question about how to get home. He says there's a portal on Witch's Hill. He says the astrologer might know more about it. All I know is how to extract flesh and bury corpses for the time being. I really need to expand my knowledge, so I start to gather some raw materials. When I need to repair my broken tools, I use this grindstone to get them back into working condition. I get some cooking preparation done in my kitchen and I make some fillets with all that fresh flesh. And I make sure to cook it up nicely. It's quite foggy when the sun rises this day, and I make a discovery to improve my efficiency. Look at that! I can push them! That's amazing! At the tavern, I receive another payment for a job well done, and I go meet the local farmer, who is not a fan of my line of work. But after talking about farming, he divulges some cooking recipes. I think about buying seeds from him, but I don't have enough money for everything, so I don't do that yet. But it's the blue day, and I find the old astrologer at the lighthouse. He seems to be a very miserable fella in general and not really sympathetic to the problems of others. However, he asks me to do something illegal. He asks for a skull, and then maybe we can talk about the portal on Witch's Hill. The lighthouse keeper is here as well, and he's a fisherman. When I ask for a free rod, he says to bring him some moths that can only be found at night, which I agree to do. Before that, I sleep to get all my energy back. I've seen a full cycle of a week, and the bishop will be here again today. Hey buddy, how are we? He's checking himself out. Oh my god, the fella's checking himself out in the mirror. While the bishop supervises me, I get to work fixing some of these gravestones, and when I'm done, the quality shot up from -22 to -14, well on my way to positive numbers. I then craft up a lot of materials like wood billets and very quickly run low on energy. Just enjoying some cannibalism right now, it's a good time. Followed up with making flitch, and I use this to make a chopping spot for chopping firewood. Time flies and I also make myself a furnace, but I don't have any kind of ore yet. Cresvold said there was ore to the west, so I need to fix this bridge to get there. I make the carpenter's workbench because I'll be able to make planks here. I make a wooden anvil, but I don't have any kind of metal yet to make nails for that bridge, which poses a slight conundrum. A slight body distraction next, but I decide to learn a bit more so I can actually get the skull from this one for the astrologer. I decide to go ham. Okay, so this is, ooh, that's a nasty looking body. At least I have a lot of goodies. I remembered that Yorick told me about corpse quality. I don't want to bury this body in my graveyard, and I can't burn them yet either. So I reluctantly decide to bury this mangled mess, and it tanks my quality a little bit, which is counterproductive. The next day I go see the merchant, who seems to be a hiccup kind of fella. I try to scare him to get rid of his hiccups, but that was a bad first impression. I guide this conversation towards that farming spot because this guy owns it. We make a deal, which involves growing crops, but he wants to see what I can do and asks me to bring him some veggies that I've grown. He also asked me to get him hiccup grass. Now this time round, I can just afford enough seeds for what I want to do, and I finally start to plant all these veggies in that garden spot. No watering is required, it seems. I'm just north of my house gathering rocks and wood from this area, and I make a little discovery. Yeah, I spy something up there. I think that is iron ore up there. It is indeed iron ore, which is really appreciated. There's quite a bit up here, and I gather all of it quite peacefully, when suddenly... Ho, 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 ho! Back, you fiends! Whew, Jesus. Okay. I start to smelt up all this iron ore I found the next day, so I'll be able to make those nails shortly. I go see an old friend while I wait. Hey buddy, how are we? Ah, Keeper, I enjoy the air here. There's something righteous in it. Now today, the Inquisitor has something for me. He likes to make big spectacles about witch burnings, so he wants me to make him some flyers and restock his firewood for the occasion, which I agreed to do. Advertising flyers as you can get. Come to the witch burning. While I'm here, I find what Jerry mentioned before, or at least it looks like a portal, but it seems to be run down. Also on the hill to the left, I find what could be turned into a vineyard, which could be exciting. There's also a burnt down house here and a body in a grave. I have a poke around, but I leave everything as is. I'm exploring in the wee hours of the morning. I find a hive here which I can get honey from, which is really nice, and an abandoned apiary, which I think I'll be able to claim myself once I can fix it up. There's a blocked path there that I need to clear up, and most interesting is this giant rock stone, which I can get chunks of stone from. I go visit the astrologer and give him that skull I pilfered from someone who no longer needed it. I ask him about the portal, and he tells me about an old friend he had in the past. This friend was also a graveyard keeper, but that he vanished some time ago. The other keeper was obsessed with the portal, and that he may have activated it. Now that keeper's name was not Jerry, so that rules him out. The previous keeper kept a diary, which should be somewhere in the church library, and the astrologer gave me a key, which I guess I need to find that diary and bring it to him to get more information about the portal. Among the fog of the morning, I finally make a bunch of nails. I want to go fix that bridge, but I apologize to the bishop because last time he was here, the place looked better, but I buried that mangled corpse. Anyways, that bridge is fixed and I explore abroad. I enter the swamp area and there is a lot of iron ore deposits, which is quite welcome, but I have to teleport home to deal with a body. I don't mangle this one, but it doesn't change the quality of the grave either. My crops are ready the next day and I teleport to the tavern where I set my eyes upon what is supposed to be pixelated beauty. Wadala boop da ba dee ba dop. You wanna be loved by me? Shaluba duba wawa. Captivating. I introduce myself to this lady who's Miss Charm and she completely shuts me down. I feel personally attacked here. I am indeed short of stature. It seems everyone in the tavern saw that interaction because this random fella asks me about it. He says he's a poet and he wants to write something for Miss Charm, but he needs paper and ink and asks me to get him some. That's none of my business, but I agreed to help the beta male out. Back at my farm, I make compost bins so I can get some fertilizer going. I harvest my crops and I get just enough to take to the merchant for that deal. I'm back at the swamp and I start to navigate this maze while collecting any iron ore. It takes forever, but I do find hiccup grass along the way for that merchant quest. At the heart of the swamp, I find Clotho, because the name tag up here says so, but she seems to have no memory of who she is. She did have instructions from herself to herself about what to do when memory loss is an issue. I need to help her remember who she is. She also asks for a silver star quality pumpkin, which sounds difficult. On the way out, I see another bridge I could build, so next time I come this way, I'll bring the resources to fix this thing. It'll save me time. I forgot that I could teleport and I painfully find my way back out of the swamp on foot. Oh, don't worry, I do remember when it's too late. I could have just teleported home, I just realized. God damn it. I deal with another moist corpse and bury this one with still no improvement. Then I realized I should probably continue fixing these graves like I did before. I want to fix all these blockages and bridges as well, so I craft up a bunch of materials to do just that. The swamp bridge was first, so no more painful marshy walks in the future. I then fix up this northwestern path and get ready to explore, but I'm interrupted. Wow. Oh come on, why now? Sometimes you just gotta let a body husk up and forget about it. I find this quarry looking place up here. Looks like there's something on the left that I need to research before seeing what it is. Stone in the middle and maybe marble on the right. I fixed the bench and I can make stockpiles up here. I'm also able to sleep in here, so that's awesome. I look at my talent tree and unlock the iron ore mining, and indeed, this does unlock what seems to be an endless supply of iron ore on the left, which is a winner. I find another spot on the right that looks like it's off limits to me. I also see an endless vein of coal, which is fantastic. I get back to this not so moist corpse and give it a proper burial. I really need to do something about this graveyard quality. So I look at my theology tree and learn the simple gravestones. In fact, I spend points and learn a bunch of random tech at this point. I make a trunk for my farming area because it's going to get very busy over here. I use some flowers and peat to make flower beds for the graveyard, and I bring the quality up to -7. Now with max energy after a good sleep, I go and harvest coal until I can't anymore. My pickaxe is ready to break and I have about 250 coal, so that is quite good. I also tried teleporting while carrying something, and this does indeed work. I don't have an iron ore stockpile, so it's going to sit here for now. I spam click and smelt all of my iron ore. I replace my wooden anvil with a metal one, so I can make complex iron parts and better tools. I make a stone cutter where I can make gravestones and also break up iron slabs into iron ore. I take stock of how many graves need decorations, and I start making said items, but energy is going to be a problem. I forage around for berries to supplement this growing annoyance. I remembered I owed this cauldron man honey to teach me how to make a cake. I try to see how I make this cake at home, but I come across some other recipes I learned a while back from the farmer, most noticeably these carrot cutlets. I gather what crops I can spare and make what sustenance I can. I sleep and I awake the next morning to a few carrot cutlets, which is exciting, and I try them out. Yeah, my god, look at that energy, it just plummets. So does the carrot take me up? Yes, a carrot does take me up quite a bit. That's amazing, I might go with carrots. I then make all those fences I wanted as well. I go and see the merchant first about these crops that I've grown, and he thinks they look pretty terrible, but he sees potential in me. He proposes we become business partners if I get a trade license, which doesn't sound too hard to me. I also give him that hiccup grass, but unfortunately this robs the man of his taste buds. He directs me to go find Clotho, which I already know, and ask her to find a cure for his misfortune. On the way home, I buy 20 carrot seeds from the farmer. I accidentally teleport to the wrong location, not the dead horse man. So I'm forced to harvest some sticks before I can teleport home. I plant all those carrot seeds I bought, and I then make myself upgraded tools for the improved efficiency, which leads me to use all of those gravestones and fences and chuck them on all these graves. The quality goes to 8, so I'm finally ready to see the bishop when he's around. I'm dealing with yet another corpse, and Jerry comments on how exhausted I look. Look, it's hard work doing what I'm doing. Jerry continues to say that the old graveyard keeper had a lot of helpers in the past, that they're kind of like himself but not funny. In fact, one of them is in the church cellar, chained up. That's very interesting. That kind of sounds like where that diary I'm looking for would be as well. A body gets buried suitably and I get another certificate. I harvest a lot of resources and make this awe-inspiring conga line of tree stumps for my purposes. I see Cresvold next and sell him my old tools, and he buys them for a lot of money, which is really appreciated. I buy all the carrot seeds that I can and expand my crop field accordingly. I clear out one section below and I can finally speak to this guy. He is unfortunately quite aggressive and he threatens me with his dagger, so I threaten him with my sword, which seems fair. It didn't come to violence, but my options with him are convince him or give him the key. Is that the key I have by chance that the astrologer gave me? I get it from my trunk, but it's not the one he's after. He wants a golden one. There's another blockade here that I can't clear yet. I do see Jerry from here, so indeed it looks like all these places are going to be connected. Oh, this is Snake. Okay. Snake! This is that fella that can get me that fake stamp for my meat to sell to Horadric. He's also connected to Miss Charm, as Horadric said that she knew where he was. Well, he's right here in my cellar. I go deal with another body, but I notice something I can fix here, and it's a corpse hatch. There's another one inside as well. Before that, I deal with the current corpse. I fix up those hatches the next day. I repair the desk in the mortuary as well, and I can make pallets or preparation places. I go see old mate Bishop and tell him the good news. He's pleased and he promotes me to prior, and he says it's time for my first sermon. He says not to worry and just speak the words. It'll be a great honor for you to have the so you just stand in the pulpit and speak the words. Apparently I speak the words? What words? The words. Actually, you can say whatever you want. I nervously stand up and I say whatever. May the Not too bad, my sermons are much better. I would have said Musketeers, one for all and all for one. If you think my words are better under the circumstances, hit that like button and subscribe to join the Musketeers. Bishop says I have to do this every week now, and maybe someone will show up next week. I'm in the library underneath the church, and it's a whole new section for me. I can make alchemy stations down here. First, I clean up a bit and get some basic resources, and also some old notes and books. I have a study table and I can learn about pretty much every item in the game here. On this occasion, I studied blood and I get a lot of blue tech points, which is actually my first. Donkey wants to talk to me, it seems. Hey buddy, it looks like you're doing alright here. Yes, I just opened the church. So now you own everything here. I guess, yes? Congratulations, you're a lucky man. You've acquired all this capital. Your work for yourself. You're a true capitalist now, but the world has no such reward for a hardworking donkey like me. Even you are benefiting from my cheap labor. I fear I cannot call you comrade any longer. But I won't just lie down and take it. Here's a little present just for you. Okay, what are you giving me? What is this? Did he just poop in front of me? Ew. Oh, thanks for the carrots, mate. Well, joke's on him. I will capitalize on these carrot seeds. I check out the Royal Services box. I purchase the right to be a citizen, and I see that meat stamp, and it costs me 50 silver, which is completely out of my reach. Everything else is locked for now. I make a chest in the church so I can store godly goodies here. Also, guess what game my partner is playing?
I gotta go past it.
Nice, well done, babe. Wonderful. Yeah. I then study fat and get excited. Oh, look at all that blue points. It's amazing. A bone follows and I have 60 blue points I can spend all of a sudden. So I have a look at some text that I want to unlock. I get cremation, writing, paper crafting, inventing stories, writing supplies, master gatherer and insects, and that's it for now. Jerry asks me whether or not I'm a cleric now. I mean, with those profound words I stuttered before, I can say yes. Yes, I am. And in my position, I can tell a nasty body when I see one. So I take it for everything that it's worth and decide to burn this one afterwards. I realize that I have to make a pyre for every single body, which really annoys me. Also, who says you can't learn something new while playing video games? 3 things in here. We've got salt and ash. Ew. Kylie, I burned down a body and I got salt. Oh my god, this game's amazing. I decide I wanted to look a bit into the writing, as it's confusing to me. I place down a desk and get into it. It is what you expect. I'm missing clean paper and ink, and I'm already stumped. I think I'm missing something. I make a scroll shelf and this is just extra storage and I'll keep my book stuff here. Donkey pays me another visit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Donkey deserves more carrots. What are you doing here? I'm on... Oh god damn it. What does that mean? It means I'm tired of being oppressed and I'm not bringing you any more corpses. At least not for free. I have a list of demands. First, I demand better working conditions. Grease the wheels for a change. I can't keep listening to the squeak. Second, I need a day off, so no more corpses on a purple day. And last but not least, I need better pay from you. Okay, these corpses aren't your property. They're like a natural resource, are they? And I want my cut. Each new corpse will cost you 5 carrots in advance. You can place them in a special box here. I'll take the carrots from it. If you're refused, then you can find yourself another donkey. Oh, and there isn't another donkey. Haha. God damn it. I just got owned by a communist donkey, yes. So now I have to work this out with him. Luckily, carrots are my go-to food source, so that's already sorted. I sort out his carrot demand the next morning, but I still need oil for his squeaky wheel. I get back to the church and I make a workbench next, and I can see the ink and paper I need is crafted here. I see, so we get paper out of human skin. I oblige, of course, and paper is awesome. I get study preparation points with it as well. I need canonical flasks next, and I'm kind of stuck because I don't have any more blue points to spend. I sell any burial certificates I have, but I don't have a lot of them. Now, money is a bit of a problem for us. We're not really making a lot of money, and that bloody thing cost me 50 silver. How am I gonna get that? The 50 silver I'm referring to is the stamp price. A problem's for later. Right now, I buy some oil from Dig, which I can give the donkey to shut him up and give me corpses for my money complications. I take everything from this corpse again, and I have a lovely bonfire. I collect a delightful Congo line of wood during the daylight, and I make more billets for more bonfires. So it's late at night and I need to pillage flowers to get those moths that the fisherman wanted ages ago. I found one unlucky bug and one poisonous mushroom, which I can make use of somehow. I have a chat to the bishop and he has recently opened up a soup kitchen specifically for poor people, as this will make him stand out and look good. He wants me to make some cheap bowls for the downtrodden, and he teaches me to gather clay and sand to help in this endeavor. I then give my first sermon alone, saying these engaging words of, "Our church is great, and this declaration has earned me 3 faith this time and 42 copper, which is appreciated." I plunder a corpse and I make a decision. I'm not gonna bring bullets every single time. I don't have the patience for that. Which equals me throwing this body into the river. I thought I was being clever at the time. I then study human skin, flesh and skull for some much needed blue tech points, which I spend on the circular saw for wooden beams and gardening, which is the farming perk and alchemy stuff. I also realized something. I just realized something as well. I don't get any money if I toss the bodies into the water. So damn, no, I need to keep on top of the wood chopping and all that sort of stuff then. So I get woodcutter to be able to chop down these big boy trees for more stumps. I harvest my carrots and give the fisherman those moths I continued to hunt the previous night. He rewards me with a fishing rod. No fishing yet, but I do cook up 120 carrot cutlets. I save a few for Donkey's carrot crate, of course. And as the day was finishing, I corrected a mistake by making 4 pyres ready to go. Now I wanted to make a circular saw, however my workspace is very full at the moment, so I increase the space a bit and I clear it up. I'm really keen to use this extra room. I get the circular saw up and running. I can make more of the standard wood materials here, but also those beams now, which is great news. As I'm crafting set pieces, a body distracts me. I'm not going to lie, a body shows up every 7.5 minutes, it's quite overwhelming. I bury this cretin, as it was a good corpse. While not being distracted, I look at how I can make these canonical flasks, because I need them for the alchemy machines, and that's out of reach for now. What's also out of reach for me are these postal box things. I need rightful citizen, which is 3 silver, to even be able to think about getting the trade license for the merchant, so I'm a little bit embarrassed about how awful my money situation is. I go downstairs and I make a hand mixer, and hand mix some fat and I get slowing solution, and I am utterly clueless on what the hell this is. I clear both these paths here so I can get to my morgue much easier, and I make a shelf for easy storage of body parts. Also an alchemy rack for future alchemy stuff, and a distillation cube, which I can't actually use right now as I don't have the knowledge. Why did I even build this then? I go ahead and I break down this final barrier, so now my home, morgue and church are all connected, which is quite convenient. Another body is set ablaze for my convenience as well, and I then break my previous record for largest Congo line. I catch a quick snooze into day 35 and harvest this morning's crop to pay the communist his fair share of carrots and my fair share to be cooked up. I go to this infinite clay deposit below the church because I'm keen to make some canonical flasks. Now my problem is I queued like 10,000 iron bars before, and I don't know how to cancel queued items. Is there not a way you can turn off a furnace? Oh dear. Okay, I may have to make a second furnace, actually. And make a second furnace I did. But to make glass I need river sand, not clay, that's pottery, you animal. Well, there's a river there and there's another body. I do get to that sand deposit that's also infinite, and I do my thing. But it's time for my next sermon, and I didn't get to making those bowls I have to give to the bishop, which is unfortunate. Not as unfortunate as my exact repeat of words I do for every sermon. At least it pleases the audience and I get my 3 faith. I get back to it and scoop up some buckets of water, stock up on infinite coal at the quarry, and start production of making glass. I make a potter's wheel in the morning so I can get started on those poor people bowls, so I'll be ready with them next week. Now I only got 3 faith before, and studying this hard costs me 3 faith. I really hope it's worth it. So the items decompose into essence, okay? Oh, that's good, look at that, yes! Okay, we got 50 points for that. I learned the blueprint for canonical and advanced canonical flasks with this bounty. I need to upgrade my furnaces however, and that takes pigskin. Luckily pigskin is human skin, which I'm helping myself to now from this body. An upgraded furnace looks taller and I can make flasks in here now. I wait a bit and I get some blue tech points from making them as well, which is a huge bonus. I have a look at my NPC quest log and I realize there's so many things I should be doing for NPCs. I also get distracted by the fact that I can't make ink for some of those quests. I don't know why, but I got very lost with what to do, so I went and tried fishing. It's quite reminiscent of Stardew Valley. I get distracted by slimes, which also reminds me of Stardew Valley. I was back up there seeing if the iron ore respawns, but it doesn't. Looks like you have a finite amount of iron ore until you can start getting it from that other thing up north, but that's a hell of a trip to take to get iron ore. I make a second giant furnace to increase the flask production. I was also fishing because that baron wanted silver starfish fillets. Too bad the fish I caught are not any quality, they're just trash. My surgical skills are quite trash as well. I really ruined this body. I burn it, of course. My glass production is going well, but I'm getting low on stone, so I go and gather random clumps around the world. Guess what? I rediscovered this apiary which I could possibly fix up and get some beehives. I think I don't know how to do that yet. So I work at my day job again and spend a huge amount of time making a ton of planks, which I use to make benches in my church to up the quality in there. I also make these simple candelabras, which I put in here as well. I give Bishop his bowls. He says they're pretty damn ugly, but perfect for the poor, so that's a job well done. He also says he wants to upgrade the church, but I need to improve my quality game, and that he also wants some quality fish fillets, so that's something else I have to add to the list. I gave my usual sermon, and I got 5 faith now instead of 3, which was huge. I look at these candles I could make, and I finally pinpoint a wall I've been hitting at the alchemy workbench. The alchemy station is the thing that's really holding me back right now. Yes, I really need to make an alchemy workstation. I study the brain for 3 faith and I get some nice blue points. Now that alchemy I mentioned, I see I'm almost there. I can make the first one soon. I just need flasks so that I can make them into the advanced canonical flasks. So I sleep a lot to make time go quicker. I find Snake down here again and I still have to convince him with 5 faith, which is really hard to save up for. I go ahead and grab some maggots because that makes sense as using them for bait. It does work. I do get a brem that is bronze quality, so I'm definitely onto something. I can make them into fillets for the bishop, but I need to catch silverfish somewhere else it seems for the baron. I try fishing in the swamp. I catch trashy eels, so nothing good. I try fishing in the ocean, and again, they're all trash, but I can at least sell them to the lighthouse keeper. I quit fishing for now, and I finally start making those advanced canonical flasks. While I wait, I go north and take down this blockage for later. I get back to making my first alchemy workbench, which is huge. Now, there are no instructions on what I have to do here. I have to figure it out. And by that, I mean most recipes I looked up on Google. For example, I go buy feathers from this basket. I get oil from Dig, bury another goddamn body, all before mixing human ash with oil to make black paint, which I use to make ink, and then finally pen and ink with those before mentioned feathers. My god, that was a mission. I investigate how to write a new sermon, and it's quite extensive and time consuming. I make a couple of the bronze quality stories into notes. 3 notes are made into a chapter, and with this chapter and non-existent faith at the moment, I can make a better sermon. So no, I didn't do this yet. I did get round to making those flyers for the Inquisitor though, and the one ink and clean paper for the poet, so he can write his feelings from his charm. He does offer to write me a Silver Star story for a silver wine. Writing is complicated, so I get the blueprint for growing grapes and making wine from said grapes. There is this grape area on Witch's Hill, and I'll start prepping this up now. I give Bishop his fish and he's blasphemously pleased, but my graveyard needs to look better, so I learn these stone gravestones, plus the confessional and the church shrine. I make a confessional and it's quite chunky. I give my speech and I get 6 faith, which is superb. I make the shrine next, and I wish I had done this before the sermon. I also resorted to Google for a question. Your furnace off. It turns out you literally queue to cancel the workstation, then you undo the cancel, if you get my meaning. You get everything back that's currently queued up as well. I then make a bunch of repair kits and properly fix this graveyard, from 14 to 23, but I really need to do better. I make stone grave fences, and I don't realize at this point that the fences gave me 5 blue tech points per fence, which is massive. But these upgrades has got the graveyard to 40, so I'm ready for the bishop next time. I snooze into day 50, and in the early morning I find the merchant, and he sells grape seeds. They are so expensive, but I do get around to planting these 8 seeds. I make a wine press in preparation for future grapes, and also discover that I can make oil out of fat at this thing, which is really helpful. Making a wine barrel will also be helpful. I explore the next day looking for honey and maybe even bees. I fish at this top river spot and I see I get silver brems here, so that'll be used for the Baron fella. I make my way to Witch's Hill first and give this Chad his flyers and firewood. However, his audience for this spectacle shows signs of boredom. He wants more witches, so he asks me to bring him silver wine so that his soldiers are more motivated, which sounds fine. What's also fine is giving this man his fish fillets he ordered quite a while ago. I make a prayer for prosperity next because I'm always low on money and this makes me jovial. Beautiful. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I then do some study for extra blue tech points. I speak with the bishop next and he's pleased with the church and the graveyard quality. But the prick forgot to mention I need a building permit if I want to upgrade the church. Guess how much that is? That's 20 silver, mate. I can't do that yet. You son of a gun. Well, that doesn't help me at all, does it? No, it doesn't. I've got 5 silver on me. That's nothing. I give my prosperity sermon next. I get 7 faith this time and this other thing. I also receive more donations from the people, which is fantastic. After investigating, I see I sell these blessings of commerce, which is that extra thing I just got. I make some extra storage for body parts in the morgue and this fridge pallet to keep the corpses on ice if I didn't want to deal with them right away. I investigate this closed gate and it mentions a key. I do have this key I got from the astrologer but forgotten about. It's not the key I need, however, but I can study it if I had instructions, so okay, something needs to happen here. Excuse me, it's corpse time. And judging from this cabinet full of body parts, if I'm not on a no-fly list somewhere in the world, someone is not doing their job. I harvest my first grapes and they're silver quality, which is what I need, so I buy more from the merchant because he's around. I try adding peat to my grapes because I need to figure out how fertilizers work. I kinda need to do that because I need 15 grapes to make a single bucket of grape juice. Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. For now, Snake is here and I spend 5 faith to convince him, and his response was golden. You appear useless but also harmless. Useless but also harmless. Right. Now he gives me instructions. And remember what I said a few moments ago? I study that dumb key I had for a long time. I don't understand why I had to study the key for it to work, but whatever. But as we make our way through, Snake seems to be someone who holds a grudge against everyone. I think I'll also hold a grudge against the developers for what happens next. I see what I'm looking for. I didn't control that. What? That was scripted. I didn't have any control. He just waltzed in and died. I wake up in my bed next, which is weird. What's weirder is that it actually happened. Snake is even surprised to see me. He even hates me because I'm immortal, it seems. However, he says he has use for me, which is to explore this dungeon behind him, looking for particular items to prepare a ritual he wants to perform. Also, in this section, I find that person Cherry told me about. This is Gunther. He's a zombie and he begs me to hit him with a sword so he can feel something again. He then tells me about his brothers. They are zombies, which a previous keeper raised to help him. I unlock this technology and harvest some zombie juice, so maybe raising the dead will soon be an option for me. Gunther has also told me where to find one of his lost brothers. For now, I dodged that obvious trap and I retrieved this journal the astrologer has been looking for. I visit Snake's dungeon next. Looks like it's 15 levels deep and it has primarily things I could break to collect items, like healing potions, crafting resources and farming seeds, plus plenty of things to fight down here. Each level is linear. I can't teleport out, so you can only exit at the start or finish of each level, and you will unlock them one at a time. 3 bodies have piled up, but I don't care. I'm making a resurrection table. I plop this corpse in and I see that I need zombie juice and 10 faith, which is kind of insane and not what I have. So I go see the astrologer about this diary I finally found. He tells me that it's a spirit laser or teleport that's on Witch's Hill, and to make the teleport I'm going to need 6 specific items. They can be found in the town. He can't read the diary any further. I need to make him acid and find restoration tools, which leads me to believe I need to speak to Snake again. Righto. I then give my weekly motivation speech and get 7 faith and another blessing of commerce. By now I've saved up 15 silver grapes for the wine bucket, but to make things even worse, I actually need another 15 for a second bucket, and then with that I have a 50% chance of making silver wine. Bloody hell, this wine thing is going to be tedious. I go ahead and study zombie juice because I want to know what ingredients I need to make more. I didn't learn about the ingredients at all, so I will later resolve the Google to find the answer. I then take this blessing of commerce and sell it to the farmer. I don't know how good it is, but it's good enough to unlock the vendor's second tier goodies, so that's really nice to know. I go and investigate the location Gunther mentioned a zombie brother might be, and I do excavate this lifeless corpse. Hiya! Hiya! Oh, that's funny. Now, I may have looked something up, and I'm making a zombie lumber camp next, and I put old Gary mate to permanent employment. I then buy more seeds from the merchant, and this is absurd. I'm always money starved. I'm not getting anywhere, it seems. I have to work something out. I'm also running low on iron, so I have money troubles and resource troubles. I mean, iron is here, yes, but how do I get it back home? Teleporting 1 for 1 is not efficient. I start to prepare this quarry because I want to make more zombies to work here for me. I also see I can make a porter station, which means I can set a fella to carry stuff back home for me. So next morning, I bring Gary to this iron ore place. He goes inside and he gets to work, while I get to work on my wine production. I was considering trying to make silver wine from this 1 bronze and 1 silver bucket, when it clearly says it'll produce bronze wine. So I skillfully decide not to and wait for the silver quality buckets. I return the next day and Gary is taking forever. Not a single piece of iron yet. I have a think about that while I deal with these 4 bodies that have piled up. I wish these faiths would pile up faster. I'm really struggling getting by with just 7 each time. But it's enough to resurrect this 7 white skull zombie. He's also an 18% effective zombie, which means nothing to me at this point. Except I bring Gary here and see he's an 8% effectiveness fella, and I get an idea about who's a good employee. I try something else. I put a zombie onto porter. They seem to walk at a decent pace. I chop the surrounding wood and I put it into the station to be ported. I could also leave them chopping and then come back and change their job to carry and then back to chopping. But this lot will keep him busy for now. So here we go. Let's see this arsehole. Come on, buddy. So how many does he grab at a time? Yeah, boy. 1, 2. So he takes 2 at a time. Beautiful. I'll do the same thing for iron ore, so that way I will have at least something back home. I go and buy more grape seeds from Allmate, and it's the same story. That is the final straw. I am sorting out my money woes now. That blessing of commerce has unlocked the second and third tier shopping with the farmer, so I sell one to the blacksmith. It didn't go up a tier, but it did move towards it. I'm back home and I have 2 silver quality buckets of grapes, so fingers crossed I get silver wine. While I wait, I collect a lot of coal and chop up a lot of firewood. In fact, I fill up my bag with a lot of crafted raw materials. Now, generally speaking, everybody buys firewood for low money, but here's the big thing. Everything I can sell to Cresvold, mining or iron stuff, they sell for quite a bit. And he has 46 silver to barter with, so I decide to sell him a lot of coal, 301 for almost 14 silver. That was finally a win. But the next morning, after many weeks of painful labor, damn it. Damn it. I mean, that does look fantastic with the energy and the health, but I worked so hard to get silver. I worked so hard for it to be silver. Look, let's see me in a happy mood again. I sell some stone later. And boom, we got 20 silver now. Beautiful. Now that 20 silver was for the building permission, so I can upgrade my church when Bishop comes back. I go digging a lot of sand the next morning because I want to make more glass for flasks, which are for blue points. I think at this point I still hadn't realized that stone grey fences gave me blue points. It's my sermon day and I usually deal with piled up bodies before giving my speech, looking like I came from a murder scene. Before that, I give the building permit to Old Mate, and everything should be all good now, right? By the way, I think you should make a donation box bigger, and speaking of donations, in order to perform a ceremony in the big church, you need to be a right... What? Really? Oh, then I must have forgotten to measure. No wonder. I have so many important things on my mind. Really? Are you actually joking me right now? The rightful papers cost 3 silver, which I don't have at the moment. Very conveniently, I have burned some bodies, so I can get the money for this. I get the papers to him, and at some point I decided to call him Barney. So about the cathedral, I have the rightful papers because I don't like you. I suppose who would about your accept me? Barney, I don't like you, mate. I genuinely am not a fan of you right now. That's not fair. Think of it as a test of your faith, my son. I'm about to backhand you, Barney. That's what I'm about to do. He then gives me new goals to strive for in regards to quality, which is going to be way in the future. For now, I get my cheeky 7 faith and a commerce blessing. I start upgrading my tools to the steel versions next because I unlock the technology. I'm working more on my attempt at getting silver wine next. I have enough grapes for 2 buckets, so maybe this time I'll get silver quality wine. Now Snake wants a lot of things out of this dungeon, and I have a list of things I want from Snake. Do you see where I'm going with this? Now I have some basic wine, so that does make this dungeon survivable. It both heals and gives me energy, but when a body arrives, I have to forget it because I can't just simply teleport out. I have levels I need to get to. Also, killing these bugs yield alchemy ingredients, which is a bonus. Here is an added bonus. Yes! Oh, thank God. Yes, that is appreciated. That is so appreciated. I emerge from my dungeon on day 76 to go and give the Inquisitor his wine. This has been a tedious quest indeed. I have his trust now, and I have to speak to him about unlocking the left-hand side of my graveyard. I have the go-ahead, so now I have more space for corpses. Back to this fella. He treats these burnings as spectacles. So he gets the grand idea that I should open up a snack bar and sell burgers and beer for anyone that comes. He says I can source the meat the only way I could, which means what you think it means. Oh my God, he says I have a source of cheap meat. Anyways, I go inside my dungeon again and I finally start coming across the items that Snake needed, while helping myself to a cheeky silver vein down here as well. I finally find that bucket of blood he wanted. I'm above ground again and I unlock the west side of the graveyard. So much room for activities. I do my activity inside for a cheeky 7 faith and commerce blessing again the next day. The lads all agreed it was a great sermon. What's also great is another zombie slave to do my bidding. This is number 3. I put him to work right away, and with the soon to be an abundance of iron ore, I stock up on more coal. I spend the majority of day 79 making materials out of iron and switching lumber zombie to carry zombie when he needs to switch his tasks. Now I'm collecting huge amounts of stone because I want to upgrade my graveyard with stone grave fences and such. Walking down like this is fine, but going sideways is a complete nightmare. I go and make some more money. I get the blacksmith the second tier and a cheeky 30ish silver for my pockets. Snake is back and I give him his bloody bucket and bloody nails. He starts to cast a spell and he demands I bear witness to his power. Is this what's supposed to happen? Clearly he summoned a chicken. That's amazing. Something went wrong and he wants another book. It's called the Necronomicon. I need to speak to the astrologer for this, and then Snake will be in my debt. Speaking of owed debts, I grabbed this royal stamp and town pass, but I can't get those restoration tools I need for the astrologer yet. By the way, if I had bought this stamp, it would have cost me 50 silver, and you know how I go with money. I visit the blacksmith to get rid of some old tools, and my god, I wish I did this before. I made a bounty. What else is a bounty is that I was able to squeeze 5 silver star stories out of the poet for wine before he caught on to my thieving tactic and then refused to talk to me. I show my stamp to Horadric and I can now prepare and sell meat to him. Now I'm starved for blue tech points, so I try to scrounge some together by studying stuff. I still don't think I know about the gravestones at this point. But I needed it to learn Stonecutter too. I make a bunch of the stone fences, and I think this finally clicked now. I put a lot of these fences in my graveyard. The quality was 40 before this, and afterwards it's 56. I'm still only getting 7 faith for my sermons. I need to inspire the people, I think. However, raising my 4th zombie slave may not be so inspiring to others. I expand my vineyard a little bit, so I'm making some progress with the wines at least. And the next morning, I watch my employees drop off resources for me, which is glorious. I look at my church workbench and I see I can make candles. I do have candle holders, so I want to get into that, but I need some resources. Before that, I make gravestones, and they also give me blue points. I add them to my burial sites and my quality skyrockets to 81, which is terrific news. What's also great news is that there's a beekeeper in town and I can buy beeswax from him and also bees. I remembered I needed those for making my own hives. I'm making this alchemy mill the next day because I googled that I have to grind up bones from corpses because it's an ingredient to making the white paint, which I will need to make candles. As a main ingredient for candles is beeswax, I go ahead and make my own beehives, but I think I will still resort to buying the bulk of it from the beekeeper every week. But yes, making these candles as I have a sermon coming up. While I wait, I have studied cabbages and I go ahead and grind them down to make health powder. That powder and blood is what makes up zombie juice. Really? Cabbages? And to think you get zombie juice from ground up cabbages. And you know, people complain about eating their vegetables. Cabbages bring back the dead. I take down all these dodgy candle holders and replace them with the more respectable ones. This has brought my quality in here from 23 to 33. But after lighting all the candles, it shoots up to 70 bloody 5. The time has come to say a few words. Oh yes, that's so much more. Oh, it's amazing. The candles are definitely worth it. With this bounty, I resurrect zombie number 5 and number 6. So I'm going to expand the quarry section to include stone mining and marble mining as well now. I even join in the fun for a bit. I expand my bee farm and harvest some wax for future sermons by making a stockpile of candles ready to go. As you can see, it's a weekly thing as the candles only last one day. I expand my vineyard a bit because my grape production is steadily growing larger. Well, it needs to. I still have this trade license that I have to pay another 50 silver for. So I collect a few things including wines that I intend to sell to make a tidy profit. 20 silver wines go for just under 20 silver, so very snazzy indeed. I try to sell to the blacksmith, but I fail to realize he doesn't even have enough money to barter with, so I only really get half of what I need. I would have had more, but I also spent some on bees to help build the bee houses. I look into my tech trees and I'm interested in this combo prayer because it sounds like it gets me additional faith and money, which would really suit me. You know what else would suit me? Getting a zombie to work on a little farm plot because my farming dedication has been poor in this game. I see I need to utilize fertilizers and I'm surprised I haven't looked at this earlier. Before my sermon the next day, I boost my graveyard to 95 quality, but this only yielded me the same amount of faith, even with all my candles lit. Still, 20 faith is 20 faith. I also discovered that I can get the bishop to look at the church quality, since it's above 50 because of all the candles. Anyways, I add another 2 zombies to my employee list, which would make 8 in total. I decide to bite the bullet, and I sell Horadric all of my silver wine, and this finally pushes me above 50 silver, which is something I've been striving for like 80 days. I will finally be able to progress the merchant's quest line with the trade license now. Although I don't have the zombies yet, I do make a zombie vineyard. I also need fertilizers if I want to upgrade these, so they work the same as farms. I go and see the merchant, and he's glad to have me as a business partner. He has a strategy. He owns a warehouse with distribution capabilities, and I source the goodies to be sold. I also need to make flyers because the more fame we have, the more crates of goodies we can sell in the future. I then upgrade my graveyard fence, and this takes the quality to over 100, which is excellent. I even add some lawn to make it look homely. For the future, I have my bee farm completely decked out with 7 beehives, so I have a steady source of beeswax. And on the final day of this video, I make some flyers because I want to invest in this business venture with the merchant. Well, I have 85 copper to my name at this point, so creating more pallets for crates or things to be sold seems like a good idea. I investigate my crafting station at home, and I can make a crate factory, which I promptly make. I briefly investigate this contraption, and I see all the types of crates I can make. But before I move any further on this, I have lapsed the 100 days mark for this video. It's day 100, and I step out of my humble abode to see my employees working hard gathering resources for me. This gives me some freedom to decide what I want to do. I decide to pick up where I left off with the merchant, which is investigating this crate making contraption. So far as I can tell, the crates of nails would be the simplest thing I could mass produce, so I get to work hammering out copious amounts of nails. I then stuff these rusty pointy things carelessly into a few wooden crates. Look at that elevator action. And below ground, I see these crates are ready for transportation. I just need a runner for the legwork. I plop this on a crate pallet and see that if I want to sell more of these, I need to improve the fame of our enterprise with flyers. Okay, sounds easy. As the game is called Graveyard Keeper, I'm soon summoned away to deal with another juicy corpse. I remove a few organs, and this body has 6 white skulls, so a perfect addition to my employee list, when I have the 10 spare faith of course. I keep it on ice until then. I like these ice boxes, so I go ahead and make another one for extra corpse storage. Afterwards, I continue making materials late into the night. But I take a break from that to gather some beeswax, because I have a sermon coming up, and I want to make some candles for the occasion. I learned in the first 100 days video that candles, though difficult to make and keep up to date with, can really be worth it for my sermons. I light the candles and welcome my faithful disciples to the weekly motivational speech, which consists of the spoken words, "Our church is great," and this profound declaration gives me faith, 20 faith to be exact. However, the faith in me may be misplaced, because I raised their fallen kin as my permanent employees with said faith, so there you have it. Other corpses I bury, but I also have a visitor this night. Hey buddy, what are you doing here at nighttime? What a masterpiece. Dude, you could have come at the most inopportune moment. Ah, it's you. I was just looking around. You know, some of these statues aren't half bad. Thank you. I do get a lot of blue points for them, which is why I make them. Can you make statues of me? If you pay me, I need 3 statues, one for my office, make that one a bit taller and looking like I'm thinking about something important. The second one is for the soup kitchen, that one should look like I care, but I'm also thinking about something important. And the third one we'll put right here in front of the church, make that one look like I'm cool and welcoming everybody. You animal. The task is of the utmost importance, but it's the topmost on your to-do list. Oh really, dude. Without these statues, we can't upgrade this big church into a cathedral. Oh, that bishop. Fun fact, I will always misname this piece of wood material, because everything seems to need filch these days. Or flitch, not filch. Where's that Harry Potter fella? Professor Filch. I use filches to make myself some more chests, because my resources are becoming quite abundant. I then have a look at my zombie farm and decide what I want to get out of this production line. I need more seeds however, so I sell some wine to Horadric, and then I buy some carrot seeds for my fledgling farm estate. I sell a blessing of commerce to the other farmer up here and unlock his tier 2 goodies. I put Bill to work growing some carrots for me, which is quite exciting and also new to me. So how does this work exactly? Is he just going to continue infinitely playing with whatever he's playing with there? Not exactly sure what he's doing there. I'm not too sure what the hell he's doing. I'll check up on him later. In the meantime, I make a bunch of flyers for that business venture I have with Old Mate. It is the Merchant's Day, in fact, and the crates are still here. I wonder when they actually sell. I spam click this fame creation thing in the warehouse and get famous all of a sudden. Also, guess what game my partner is still playing?
Level 5 foraging.
Nice, well done, babe.
You go gather or don't you?
I do, yes. I return late this night and see those nail crates sold for 15 silver each, which is an absolute bargain. So we now have 32 silver on us. That is amazing. So naturally, I max out my fame and make as many pallet hoarders as I can, so I can sell lots of crates of nails per week, because I never want to worry about money again. I have a zombie sleepily observe my grape gathering technique, as I plan on having him do the task for me with a zombie vineyard, which I'll make pretty soon. In fact, I put him to work early the next morning. Look at him go twiddling his thumbs, and I twiddle my thumbs by replanting the rest of the grape seeds. So we got a nice little vineyard going here as well. Beautiful. I'm also amazed at my speed of clay gathering. Oh, look at me go. So Zombie Boy is done with his carrot making endeavor, but where are my carrots? I think I realized at this point that the carrots are automatically placed in a nearby chest, which is nice. But I don't know how many seeds I got back or how many carrots have actually grown. So I want Bob to work on carrots again so I can get an idea about how efficient he really is. I take all the carrots and seeds away from this area so I can measure the success. I want to perhaps expand my crates of goods to be sold and decide the ceramic bowl option might sound like a good idea as a second option. I start this little undertaking and very quickly decide I don't want to stand here for that long. I am probably gonna go the easiest route, which is the nails. For now. And nails it shall be. I was crafting some stone fences for blue tack points the next morning when I realized I have a sermon I need to give. There's also someone in the confessional, so I have a quick listen, which results in a bronze story and a single faith. My sermons are the real deal though. Every time our church is great, and everyone's like, nice! Now because I'm focusing on nail crates, that means I need to smelt a lot of ore into bars, which is exactly what I do. At least I can hammer out nails significantly quicker than making those ceramic bowls. I send 10 crates down below, ready to be transported to the barn. Now at the tavern, I lay my eyes on this pixelated beauty again. About 100 days ago, Miss Charm snubbed me, but I have faith this time. But mate, just be confident, eh? I demand an apology and drop my job title, and this somehow works. There you go. How does that produce a story? Now I already know where Snake is, but I decided to humor myself and ask her the question anyways. Miss Charm isn't a fan of Snake, and she asks me to toss some coins into his face and gauge his reaction. Well, Snake knows I'm immortal, so I'm willing to bet he will do nothing. I continue to do something, which is manually cutting these crates myself like a pleb. Oh no. Times have changed. So the next corpse that plopped on my doorstep, doesn't matter what stats, this one will literally just be walking around for me. I do a decent job of giving this fella a job description and what his simple task will entail. Alright mate, can you do me the biggest of favors? I need you to take these over to the other place, like now. Boom. Yeah boy. Like the video and subscribe if you think I deserve Employer of the Year award. While I'm making materials the next day, I get a zombie to do another simple task in my place, so this is quite efficient. However, I lose the chance of getting tech points I would otherwise get if I did the task myself, but the bonus is it's automated. I visit Snake and didn't throw the coins at him, but jingled them in front of his eyes. His reply was that it was supposedly a joke. He then asks me if I'm Miss Charm's lover, so I made sure my response was a joke. Snake didn't buy my crap, so this exchange did nothing. However, Miss Charm only wanted his reaction, so there you go, I have at least that. Update, Barry is done with the carrots again. So he grew for me 31 carrots and I got 20 carrot seeds back. It's not a perfect balance as it takes 24 seeds to start up again. But then my farming ratio is about the same, so it's good enough for me. In the first 100 days, I neglected to do the quests a little bit, and they were treated as secondary activities after resource gathering and learning new technology. The base game can get insanely busy, but I want to focus more on the story this time because I've automated a few things by this point. I went to check my first full sale of 10 crates at the warehouse, and I'll just let you gauge my happiness by watching the clip. How much money? Oh, yes. Oh, that's good. Oh my god, that's so good. Oh yes, 2 gold. That's amazing. I am so happy. Continuing with the money topic and the quest line, I set up the snack stand for the Inquisitor so I can sell snacks at the next witch burning. However, I need golden beers and golden burgers. The Inquisitor is pleased with the setup, but I'm yet to sell anything though. Now I wanted to write myself another sermon with better quality stories, but somehow forgot how to do this since the last time I did it, so I will have to revisit this again soon. Remember that meat stamp I got from Snake? Well, I can now wrap up some baked meat which I can sell to Horaject. While I'm in here, I upgrade my kitchen so that I can make some more complicated meals, like those golden burgers. Now speaking of stamped meat, I sell this to Horaject, but I'll be honest, for the effort and how long it took me to get this stamp which is going through the dungeons, I have better money making methods by this point, so I find it kind of pointless at this stage of the game. I give my sermon again the next day and the masses rejoice. I will also rejoice because my mighty words make me 8 silver per week, which is quite decent. With my freed up time, I have a look at this alchemy workbench too. I need steel parts and jointings for this table. Steel parts are made at the furnace 3 it seems, and the jointings I need to learn and make a carpenter bench too. Okay, sounds good. What's also good is that upgrading my current furnaces seems like a straightforward task, so I'll have the steel parts soon. While I wait, I craft up some jointings. Here's a revelation. Make more bars. Ooh, you get more bars? Oh, why didn't I do this earlier? God, I'm a fool. A fool indeed. I'm speaking to Miss Charm again, and I tell her Snake's reaction, which was he said it was a joke, which offends her. She demands that he gives her back her money, real money this time. It seems like she hired him to find her mother's necklace, so turns out there was a deal between these two and Snake is here to deliver. Okay, back to the serpent I guess. Now as I have a good source of income, I can resolve to buying the bulk of beeswax I need for my weekly candles, which is fantastic news. 8 silver per week for 17 beeswax? Yeah, that's a winner, my sermons cover that already. I've also noticed that lately I'm able to get a lot of incoming corpses to 7 white skulls. I don't know whether that's because of an improvement in my own surgical skills, or the game has started delivering corpses with higher quality potential. To improve my potential, I moved this study table so that I can fit the alchemy workbench in here. That table's initial placement was a poor use of space in here. I didn't put it there, it was like that when I got here. I make an entire ream of paper, 120 pieces, before visiting the merchant again and telling him about those 7 crate sales we made. However, I can't go further with this final plan without more friendship. It seems I forgot about curing his hiccups ages ago, and I don't think I remembered that just yet. I'll buy a lot of grape seeds while I'm here though, and also silk because I need to make some comfy benches in the church. So I studied a few things before, one which was honey, and I can now break this down into acceleration powder. I need this because looking at my new alchemy workbench, it's an ingredient to make the speed potion. Also, if you're wondering, the difference between alchemy workbench 1 and 2 is how many ingredients you can mix at the same time. You need both. I can't use the better station to make the recipes from the first station. I get round to making those speed potion and it's a welcome bonus. Oh my god, that's amazing. Finally, we got some good speed. However, sometimes speed is not enough. Hey buddy, how are we? No. You're not busy, you animal. Oh, I have to wait until next week. I missed it by 5 seconds. The speed boost was not enough, unfortunately. Well, that's disappointing. Oh well. I borrow Gary from downstairs and get him to make all the nails that he will be transporting later. Now what I want to do is work out this fertilizer situation. For that I need to study maggots so that I can extract life solution from them. This solution plus human ash mixed together makes growth enhancers, which is the first level fertilizers, which are the simple fertilizers. I go ahead and learn the complex fertilizers because why not? I'm just about to give a sermon and Yorick decided to have a little hissy fit about the graveyard, complaining that there are too many red skulls. He may be right, but he summons lightning somehow and destroys a couple of gravestones, which then I have to fix because of course Yorick won't clean up after himself. I upgrade Tom's farm next to the second tier and get him to make more carrots. Later, I give a clear 10 out of 10 sermon for some well-earned faith. I trade this blessing of commerce to Barney outside, and I unlock his second tier goodies. I guess I'll find out what those goodies are later, I guess. For now, I study toxic red mushrooms, so that I can extract toxic solution from them. Now remember this distillation cube I made ages ago, and I winched that I was unable to use it at that point. Yeah, that's what you study things for. Since then, I studied studied a heart, which I learned that I can now toss in here, wait a few ticks, and then collect some life extract, which combined with toxic solution and human ash makes the flavor enhancers, and that finally makes quality fertilizers. That's the alchemy lesson for today, Musketeers. I upgrade my zombie vineyard to 2nd tier, scratch that 3rd tier, and that makes me insane apparently. So the Inquisitor wanted golden burgers. I need bread, meat, and onions. Looks like I need to start an onion farm to progress the storyline, as well as make beer hops for the occasion. It's the early hours of the morning, so I hunt for more moss, followed with more toxic mushroom picking for making fertilizers. I visit the farmer again and buy some onion seeds from the fella. He only sells up to the silver star quality however. I get some wheat seeds as well while I'm here because I think I need them for making beer. Guess what? The other fella up here sells hop seeds and also golden quality hops, which is really nice. That'll make it really easy to brew those golden beers I need. I have lots of seeds of varying quality in my boxes, and I make an extra compost bins because making fertilizer chews through the peat. I get Gary number 2 to make me some golden grapes with the seeds I bought from the merchant. It's been a week, so before I forget. Hey buddy, how are we? So about that necklace. He goes on that he knows where to find the necklace, but he withholds the information and says it doesn't concern me, which sounds fair. Looks like I need to earn his trust to further this questline. Oh wait, I can do this now. That's convenient. Turns out the commander in a mountain fort had purchased the necklace because it had some sentimentality to him. He says to go speak with the hunchback servant of the commander, and maybe with his help that's how we can get the necklace back. While I'm here, I grab those restoration tools that I needed for the astrologer. I make my zombie farm tier 3, which is also good news. What's not good news is that for any zombie farming, they need 24 seeds, and I don't have enough onion seeds or any of the higher quality vegetable seeds for this to start up. Here is the first step in a series of fatal errors I will make with farming, so far as I can remember. I plant all these really nice seeds hoping I get more seeds back once they mature. First mistake is I'm not using any fertilizer here at all. I'm under the impression that those awesome fertilizers I made can only be used on the zombie farms, which is incorrect. So the ratio of seeds coming back to me is going to be less. I think I may have just shot myself in the foot. I just shot myself in the foot. God damn it. Because you don't get as many seeds back, so yeah, no, I definitely shot myself in the foot there. So it's day 125, and I finally start burying corpses on the left-hand side of my graveyard, which is quite the milestone. I expand my stockpiles at the quarry so that more ores and stones can be stored up there. I harvest some honey and beeswax and inspire a flock of faithful idiots and then make more fertilizers. I resurrect another 2 zombies because I'm thinking about expansion, which is making another zombie vineyard, which I fully deck out with fertilizers, and also a zombie farm, which I treat the same. All these onions are ready, so I harvest them. But I am correct, I now have less seeds than what I started with. I have to buy them again. And no golden quality onions actually. At this point I fail to realize that silver quality seeds don't make me golden quality produce, not without proper use of fertilizers, and at this point I was not aware you could use those fertilizers on single crop plots. The next morning I go and help the iron ore harvesting because I'm making a lot of nails at this point. I got a golden nugget there as well, which is a first for me. I also beat Donkey in a foot race, which is quite glorious. What is and isn't glorious is that the game is designed quite well. By that I mean the stocks of things only slowly replenish, so it's going to be a while until I have the onion seeds that I need. I get these guys to make me carrots, which looking at now isn't really a great choice. Also, listening to this clip, I was definitely a young lad in the 2000s. Let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the ch-ch. I have a look at some embalming stuff. Spoiler alert, I never figured this out in this playthrough as it flew right over my head. Now I go back and check this snack stand, and I needed golden beer and golden burgers. This is going to pose a slight problem soon. I get to work on some additional golden hops, which is required for the golden beers, which is good news. What isn't so good is that I'm still manually pressing grapes into these buckets for wines. Speaking of wines, I give Jerry his silver wine. He's such a bummer. He says it's not strong enough and it only makes him more depressed. Sorry? I'm adding more gravestones and decorations here, and the quality is getting quite close to 200, which is a goal I've been striving for a little while now since the last video. I then look at some tech trees. I will need brewing so I can actually make those beers for the Inquisitor, but for some reason I go and study hops and grapes, maybe because I wanted green tech points, which I use to unlock the brewery and the zombie winery. I make a brewing stand and confirm what I need to make those golden beers. I make a giant zombie winery, and looks like I can put a friend to work. I just give them the grapes, no need to squash them into buckets it seems. That is so efficient. My dog also squashes any sense of smell I have. Oh, Lily girl, me.
Jesus.
Lily, are you sure you don't need a poo again? Woof.
Oh man.
Lily, that's rank, girl.
Jeez, evacuate, evacuate.
Clear the dungeon. Lily, you are truly one stinky puppy. I'm sorry. Also, the amount of bodies that gets delivered is insane. Oh my god, Donkey, give me a reprieve, mate. I buy the last onion seeds I need, and I actually go ahead and buy a silver pumpkin that Clotho asked for ages ago, instead of growing it myself. I then start an onion farm with the bronze quality seeds, but with a max tier zombie farm, and I want to see what I get from this particular harvest when it's done. Now, it's finally time to speak to Barney about the quality of the graveyard, since I got it to 200. He loves my work, and I get a golden story out of it. Speaking of golden, I still need to make him 3 golden statues of himself to stoke his ego. Then I go and stoke my ego, of course. I buy a lot of incense from Barney just to unlock his 3rd tier goodies, so we will see what that is later. I break down all these dodgy benches in the church and replace them with more comfortable ones for the masses next time. I make 15 extra speed potions because I like the zoomies. I zoom my way to my brewing stand and start brewing up some golden beers for the Inquisitor. I run past Miss Charm again and I tell her Snake doesn't have the necklace, but I know where it is and that I'm on it. Somehow I got roped into this. She takes advantage of this and asks me to get her some perfume that Miss Chain is wearing. That's Horadric's wife, by the way. I say maybe, but I could even make some for her. God damn, I'm thirsty apparently. Almate is done with the onions. I got some copper and silver onions from this lot. So with the extra seeds I bought, I set both these guys up making copper and silver star onions next. I'm under the impression that I might get golden onions from this when they are done, because I got some silver onions from the copper seeds. While this delicious meat is cooking up, I get to making some bread for those burgers. Now those burgers, I need golden quality burgers. I have no golden onions, but I do have a chance of creating the golden quality with the silver onions in its place. A 20% chance each time, which is what that slight problem was I mentioned before. So I give it a go and I make some silver on my first attempt, and then I managed to make some golden burgers on my second attempt. Beautiful. So later I have 8 burgers and I only really needed 5 to sell, so I think I'm going to be okay. Now I wasn't paying attention here, but those 2 onion farms had finished, but with copper and silver seeds and the best quality farm, I only got up to the silver star onions and seeds back. From the looks of this, I don't think I get golden seeds or onions back from planting silver seeds in the tier 3 farms. In this window I still have 1 golden seed, but that was from the dungeon a while back and not accidental from these farming attempts. Anyways, I stock up the snack stand and I let the Inquisitor know that I'm ready. Come in people for the fine food, the fine human burgers, fresh beer. Beer washes away all the sins. Juicy burgers, sweet as holy ecstasy. Clearly the best burning they've ever been to. The snack stand was an absolute hit. The town will be talking about this for a month. I made 4 faith and 33 silver, which is a nice bonus. With all I've done here recently, this Chad trusts me enough to look after the hill and let him know if any shady business is happening. I get to my business, which is investigating this rundown portal up here. Alright, so marble pedestal, craft emitter, and craft the barrel. Gonna need a golden angle, endless notebook, a necklace. Well, I've been looking for a necklace from Miss Charm, so I'm wondering if that's that. Clearly the bishop's mirror of pride. These are the items I need to make the portal work, and I have a hunch that I need to get them from the villagers. I go see the loneliest villager in the swamp, and I give her that silver pumpkin she asked for. She also wants a health potion and a cauldron, it seems. Speaking of potion type stuff, I still need to make the astrologer the acid he asked for. No idea about that yet, but I do give him these restoration tools in the meantime. Barney has appeared again, and I check out his tier 3 goodies. I don't know why so much is grayed out, but he sells the bare minimum candles. Hardly worth it. The sermon was a banger though, and I got a little bit more faith because the masses had some comfortable benches to rest their tushies on. I have a look at some of the writing technology. I haven't looked at this for a while, and maybe I have forgotten how to do this again, as mentioned before. I need blue tech points, so I make some gravestones to supplement this need. My vineyard is still plodding along, so I have a source of energy in the form of alcohol. It's a good time. Every Australian's dream. I learned engineer because I want a water pump, and it looks like over time I can take water directly from this pump, which is quite nice. I've also been raising zombies left, right and center, so I have quite a few working machines for me, which is quite convenient. I did some curious research. I was not aware that you get toxic extract from, onions, the best vegetable in the world. That comes as a surprise to me. So I study this delicious vegetable and suffer a misclick. Appreciate it. And let's... No... Damn it. I guess I'll get back to this. Horadric caught wind of my awesome brewing skills, and he doesn't believe it tastes better than his. Before I put my beer in his mouth, I go buy a cauldron from Cresvold. Wait, is that a typo? Anyways, I start extracting toxic extract from an onion. I make a health potion, thanks to the wiki, and give that delicious beer to Horadric, who is absolutely astonished. He says to go grab his special me beer recipe from upstairs. Turns out he liked my beer so much he thinks I can probably manage this recipe. I make it here and it will take some honey, which sounds really good. What's also good is that I retrieve the toxic extract from the onion, and I use it to make some acid now, so I can see the astrologer soon. I bring that health potion and cauldron to Clotho first, but after I give her the potion, she remembers who she is and where she kept her own cauldron. So now I have a useless cauldron. Wonderful. Now I'm reminded that I need to speak to Clotho because the merchant lost his taste buds ages ago for some reason clearly not my fault, and she was supposed to help me help him. She informs me that some salt and health solution will make the answer I need, which is actually spices. Clotho is a witch of course, so her store has a bunch of alchemy goodies, really nice goodies, but I don't think I had the wit to make much use of her wares, which is really unfortunate. Back at home, I make those spices for the merchant, so I'll be able to continue the storyline shortly. I also need to know how to carve marble statues to further the story of the bishop as well. So I put Gary number 20 or whatever up at the marble spot so I can start getting this base resource. He won't work alone of course. I reseed my farms the next morning before I go feeding the unsuspecting people some people meat to make me 33 silver and 4 faith. It was a good day. Now if these guys were to just take a detour to the right, they would see 2 zombies just chilling here. I remove all the manual farming spots next and diligently populate the area with 6 zombie farms, which I'll fill up in time. It took a while, but I got the astrologer the asset he has been patiently waiting for. He then reveals some information that I already know. Well, I already know this information, mate. I saw that all on the thing upstairs. Except he reveals that Snake has the Endless Notebook. He might also know where I can find that golden angle, but he asks me to look for a woman who was at the gypsy camp a little while back. He says the necklace might be there. He also starts mumbling about a child. His child that he seems to have forgotten about. The dialogue is weird here because I'm asking him about these special items, but he loses himself in memory about some woman and his child. He's not really making any sense and just asks me to help him find Esmeralda and his child. He says to start looking for her at the gypsy camp. On another note, I ask him about the Necronomicon. The book is in the hands of the lighthouse keeper who's just up there. He can't read, he just likes to look at the pretty pictures. He's a simple man. He will trade me 5 maggots for this book. 5 seconds later, hey buddy, I'm back with maggots. I just dug them up in front of you. And that was an easy quest. I'm at the gypsy camp next, and I make some inquiries about Esmeralda by speaking to the only individual at this camp. His reply was he wanted me to speak to the Inquisitor to release one of his gypsy friends. Oh right, that's where they all are. And then he will tell me about his sister. Oh, okay then. Well, I have to wait. So I make some zombie vignettes, inspire some people while I'm at it, and finally put a mate onto the zombie winery down below, which is an added bonus. I'm starting to see marble flow in, and I really want to work with this material. Specifically, I need to make these statues. They cost 5 faith each to make, which is quite a bit. But I also need to have golden chisels if I have a chance of making the golden statues that Barney wants. I won't go into the details about the golden chisels because it was a bit of a shit show, but what I eventually did here was make silver steel chisels. But then I needed to use those silver chisels to make the golden chisels, which was very confusing to me at the time. Especially when I misclicked and used a created gold chisel to make a gold chisel, so I got absolutely nowhere. I make my way over to the merchant and I give him these spices, which he puts onto a fried grasshopper. Sounds horrible, but turns out he's very impressed by the spices, and even more so that I made these spices. He says this hidden talent of mine could get us into the palace, and he asks me to make him 5 golden star dinners, and this sounds like a bit of a challenge, which it will be. I'm down below and I give Snake the Necronomicon. He looks into it and he reads up about the ritual he wants to perform, so I ask him about this endless notebook. However, Snake has some sentimentality to this endless notebook, so we're back to square one. Help him with this new ritual and then I can get the book from him. So I get started. I have to set up this place with a bunch of decorations to make it look scary. In fact, here's a list of spooky things I need to craft for this room to make the ritual work. I've said it before, but I look at all this writing stuff and stories I have. I really need to make a better sermon. I still ignore that and I get to making this golden chisels, which I used to start making these golden statues. One success, but then I make a silver. I have a 20% chance to fail with the silver, but that's okay, I eventually get there. I make my way to the Inquisitor and I ask him to release the gypsy, and because we're such bros, he agrees. Okay, easy, that's wonderful. This is how I celebrate a good old burger selling session. I finished making those marble statues, but having to spend faith in making those sculptures tanked my supply a bit. My iron ore supply has also taken a hit because of all that nail crate production, so I start to sell crates of vegetables to help the situation. In fact, I have 4 lads growing crops for me by day 150. It's my sermon day, so here's a run by my graveyard. Looks very nice. The quality is 227 by now. I give this prideful prick his 3 statues, and he sets one up right in the middle here. What a prick. But it's time to upgrade the cathedral. Barney informs me it's time to become an aristocrat for the ceremony to celebrate its grand opening, but I also need to ask someone important to attend the ceremony. Maybe the Inquisitor, he suggests. Also, to become an aristocrat, I need 12 gold. That is far in the future, but at least I can continue my sermons without getting those papers, unlike last time. So I'm finally doing it. I look into the writing and I learn writing tricks, random text generator and books. I go ahead and make a few silver star quality notes, and with these 3 notes and a 40% chance, I come out on top with a silver star chapter. Come on baby. Oh yes baby. Okay, so we have ourselves a chapter. I look into making a combo prayer and I get both money and faith from this. So I begin with a soft cover book, which I then use to make a proper book with my notes. It is unfortunately a copper quality, but no big deal, I'm just checking it out. And I make this copper combo prayer. Comparing my current sermon and this new one, I can see that the combo prayer is going to be better, so I'll use it next time. Now I'm looking for those golden meals, and I was hoping that Horagic would sell something, though he only sells golden onion rings, so I was hoping to pass this off as a meal. But nope, clearly the merchant doesn't just want onion rings. Well, I go and speak to the Baron and say his friend is free. His sister is also free, technically speaking, as she has passed away and was put onto a ship of the dead many years ago. But what about that child? The child was a shame to the family. She had left ages ago and had a lust and went into the town leaving her legacy behind, and she sold her mother's necklace. This child is called Miss Charm. So the astrologer is Miss Charm's father? The necklace Miss Charm wants me to find is the one passed on from her mother, and which she sold. Okay, pieces are starting to come together. A little later I get some blue points so that I can learn this playwright perk, so I can write better stories. Oh, this asshole, I swear. I make a printing press downstairs and a random text generator, so I get the zombie to make a bunch of random stories. Let's get you making a couple of stories. I want to see what you can do, my friend. Let's see if you can write up the next banger of a day, or banger of a video. Banger of a book. I'm tired, people. Can you tell? Now, I thought we would have a repeat witch burning, but the Inquisitor has bad news for me. The king has been possessed. He's not convinced that grabbing random villagers and burning them for witchcraft without evidence is righteous anymore. Outrageous! However, Old Mate knows where there's evidence. He says that evidence of the curse, which has been held in check by an ancient contract, might be resurfacing now, and the first signs of the curse returning is dark body parts showing up in corpses. Well, I work with corpses, so I'm the man for the job, it seems. I also ask him if he's interested in joining me for that ceremony at the church. He's not interested, it seems, but he says to try someone from the royal court. No idea about that, so I go check up on Old Mate. Wow. Okay, so you're really gonna take your time. I mean, he does have this giant scar on his head, probably because I took his brain out, and he's probably composing without a brain. I start decorating Snake's ritual site as well, making use of silver pumpkins, definitely looking spooky down here. Speaking of spooky, I find my first dark organ, a dark brain, 2 more organs to go. Also, saying the word friend inspires a song from me. Some more beeswax, my friend. Oh my friends, they're different people, anxious like the ocean in the storm. When we go out, yeah, we're electric, coursing through our bodies till we're warm. I go and see the astrologer and tell him his partner's fate, and his daughter is Miss Charm. And this astonishes him. Turns out he abandoned his family, all in the name of science, and he feels Miss Charm won't accept them back. I promise to go test the waters and see if she'd be willing to reunite. I upgrade my church a little bit in preparation for tomorrow. The day is here and I use that bronze combo prayer and I get more than 30 faith. 37 faith to be exact. And our money is also about 14 silver, so definitely a winner today. So I want to work towards a golden combo prayer. I decided to study that dark brain and I'm so glad I did. I made a bounty of blue tech points. I start working towards making that golden combo prayer book. The golden chapter is done, but the golden book will be a different story. I went to Miss Charm to tell her about her father, but the dialogue choice is locked behind 50 friendship points, so I need to sort out her perfume first. I ask Miss Chain, but she wants a favor first. I need to take lunch to her sister, who lives in the middle of the swamp. But that's Clotho, isn't it? Clotho's your sister? Huh, okay, she also wants me to catch her frogs so she can make a new perfume. I give Clotho her lunch and I buy a bunch of frogs from her in fact, and by now I have 6 zombies working my farms, which is quite the milestone. I go catch moths in the night, so I have bait to catch the last 2 frogs that I need. I deliver said frogs to Chain, get the perfume, but because I took so long, I can't finish this quest for Miss Charm until next week. God damn it. Now I'm looking through my cooking tabs at some meals I could make for the merchant. I fail to realize there's an actual section dedicated to this cooking quest, which I haven't found yet. I get distracted by some dark intestines, so that's organ number 2, and I study it for another bounty. I also come across this new technology which I didn't have before. Things must unlock to me over the course of the game's storyline, but being able to tell the organs white skulls and red skulls would be hugely helpful. I'm here later wasting my time thinking about making golden meals with these silver pumpkins. I think I really misinterpreted this quest from the merchant at this point, but I eventually find the correct tabs for the dinners. So I got these things I saw on those initial tabs and I make this dinner. It's a copper quality dinner, however. I have another look and I don't really understand what's going on. This one will take me a while to figure out, I'm afraid. I did some not so good research, but I read that using golden onion rings are a good idea for the dinners, but I can only make silver ones because of my onion quality. So I eventually buy those golden quality onion rings from Horadric. I get frustrated with this quest. Can we not make any extra chests in this place? It's so goddamn difficult to have things in here. I started to feel cluttered in this kitchen, so I made some additional pantry space. I think most people can relate, a tidy kitchen and pantry is a good feeling. I apparently suck in the kitchen, so I go hit some rocks for a bit. Honestly, I was avoiding my responsibilities both in-game and in real life. We could probably do that closer to 5 o'clock, babe. It's probably not dry all of it yet, because I hung it up at 11 o'clock. Yeah, it's not it's probably still wet. Speaking the same words to the masses is a responsibility. Kind of. Afterwards, my god, it's painful to watch, but you can see me scrolling through these options I can use to make these golden dinners. The thing is, a lot of this does not make golden meals. You have to find a combination of 3 things to combine into a golden meal, and I'm just here, I don't know, fixating on random things that won't do that, and I won't get anywhere. I go and give Miss Charm the perfume she asked for because I was doing anything to avoid that catastrophe in the kitchen, which she capitalizes on because she says she needs a romantic story for a concert she wants to perform. She wants it to be a golden quality story. I am a bit of a romantic. I'm helping myself to someone's dark heart as we speak. I deleted all the footage that got me here, but the end result was I went and made 5 silver dinners for the merchant. I was screaming at myself while editing this. I finally resorted to Google for this conundrum, and this is the combination I ended up with. I just need the ingredients now. Some of which is human flesh for those delicious Gold Star burgers. As a romantic, as mentioned before, I studied that hard and it was well worth it. We need some of the zombie juice. And Gold Star dinners. Baby. Come on. Yes! That's exactly what I need. That is what I'm talking about. Yes! Made a Gold Star dinner. Fantastic. So that's how I go with this quest. Good lord, that was quite difficult to figure out. Am I maybe just a moron? Perhaps. But I got there in the end. Okay, finally. So I don't have to worry about this one anymore. The Inquisitor reminds me of the Middle Ages, so this is appropriate. Ring a rosy, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down. Did you know that that actually references the bubonic plague? Probably something these people are familiar with. Anyways, I give them all these dark organs and mission complete. Yes, give them a dark heart, give them a dark brain, and give them the dark intestines. Good, we've gathered enough evidence. I will show these cursed organs to the king. How do you know I just didn't dye them? I'm done with the fella, so there's no more dialogue at the moment. It seems I need to come back next week after his audience with the king. Well, I'm back at working on Snake's spooky dungeon, and I finished this the next day, blood fountains and all, so I'm ready for the serpent next time. Guess what? My partner also got Graveyard Keeper.
This is my first body. My first one.
My first body.
I'm learning.
That's not what you want a mortuary person telling you. I'm learning. No, that's fine, babe. And yes, your character's also learning. Later on, you'll learn skills to become a better person at ripping them apart. Sometimes I really regret giving so many carrots to the communist donkey. This is also how I imagine my sermons, apparently. Our church is great. Nice! Oh my god, that's a lot of sheep. I mean, disciples. Now Miss Charm wants a romantic golden story. I thought I could do this myself. I had 3 random stories sitting here which would have been perfect, but the word romantic story threw me off, I think, and I thought I had to write a new one or something, and I can only make silver stories. So I foolishly left this quest when in fact I could have completed it with the existing stories I had. I was convinced that I had to somehow speak to this fellow who was simping for Miss Charm to write me a story for her. I finally make the choice. Unless I can just use that. A golden story, maybe that's gonna be it? I have no idea. Am I just going to throw this random piece of literature at her, hope she can't read, and hopefully she just takes the bait. I think we'll try that next week. I mean, what can go wrong? And here is a bloody win. Mate, it has been a huge ordeal, but I got you your 5 bloody meals. It wasn't easy, but I made them. Yeah, no. Yes, I am. I need to come and see him again next week to see how the core people like my meals, but I ask him more about our business plan. He says that we need Miss Charm on our side, so I need to ask her for assistance with our business venture. I hit another personal milestone today. Hey, I've buried 50 bodies apparently. It took me, what, it was like day 170 or something? I'm not exactly sure. It's very difficult to keep track of the days in-game. Snake is back, and I tell him the place is nice and spooky, and he's thoroughly impressed, especially with the pumpkins. But the final thing he needs is a damask sword, and would you know it, it's not easy to make. And just because I can, I learn every single blacksmithing technology at this point. I make the jewelry table because I need to craft a sword here, and it is in fact complicated. I know buying this stuff will be expensive, so I want to make the sword myself for the most part because I'm saving 12 gold for the aristocrat papers. It takes time though. Oh wow, that's gonna take forever. Okay, well, I guess I'm standing here for a little bit. I cease standing and I catch up with Old Mate on his hill. His audience didn't go well, so he humbly asks me if I know of any evidence of witchcraft or the dark cult rising. Aside from my own necromancy, I have some options. I could bring you a talking skull. His name is Jerry. There's a dark cult shrine under the regular one. I wouldn't know of anything. Nah mate, I wouldn't know anything about that. But my response has left him speechless. Now, if this fool had any kind of sense to maybe just look slightly to his right once he's walking down here, he'll see like 4 undead zombies working my fields. Oh, that's funny. The poor sod. Now, I've made as much as I can for this sword, but the only way I can get this diamond that I'm aware of was buying it, so I need to speak to Old Mate Merchant again. I had some spare time, so I upgraded my graveyard fence to stone, and the quality of the place is sitting at 265 and it's day 174 by now. I speak to Barney. I'm at 11 gold now, so only 1 more gold for the papers, but I also have to invite someone to the ceremony, which I haven't done yet. The Inquisitor declined my invitation, and I remembered he said maybe someone from the Royal Court could be interested. Update, I'm still getting 37 faith per sermon, and no idea about the donations, as I didn't check it on this occasion, because I'm an idiot. Well, I'm an idiot, and then there's my employees. Wait, what's he doing? Oh, okay, so because it's full, he's just constantly going to be walking back and forth. Yeah, it's already full, so that's fine. So he's forever just going to be walking back and forth. What is my meaning in life? You walk back and forth. Oh my god. Oh, that is actually very cruel, isn't it? I go and give Miss Charm this random golden story. It's one of those random rewards I got for helping the other people, but she's adamant it's a love story. Yeah, sure. Miss Charm is full of requests. She wants me to speak to the farmer to let his daughter accompany her to the royal concert. Okay, I'll do this for you, but I get a question myself at least. Have you done any marketing before, Miss Charm? I'd like you to promote my veggie selling venture, and I realize our company is called Graveyard Veggies, which sounds metal. She says she will, but she won't take money for this. She wants jewelry. Oh my god, that's even worse. Now I ask her about her father, and that I may know who he is. She shoots this idea in the foot straight away. She says her father was deceitful and dishonorable, and that she's not interested at all. Okay, sounds promising. I'm sure we can cross this bridge soon enough. As I am a good graveyard keeper who does what he's asked, I go and see the farmer to ask about his daughter. He's not receptive to my request. He wants his daughter to stay here and help with the chores on the farm. The socially awkward brother comes in clutch with a suggestion. If I help the other farmer at the mill, who is the brother of this farmer, then the father would be so happy he will let Alyssa go on her merry way. Speaking of awkward, did you catch that awkward cutscene? Did he just literally walk there for a second so we could have this quote-unquote private conversation? That was the most transition I've ever seen in my life. Oh no! I laugh my way up to the man at the mill and offer to help fix his problem. He says he has repair instructions, but in Latin, so he can't read it, so apparently I'm going to have to go see the astrologer to help out. As soon as the merchant perches himself like an owl at his usual spot, I ask him how those dinners went with the royals. It went wonderfully, so we have this support. Now he'll be ready to share his final plan with me, but it's locked behind friendship, and the only thing I can talk to him about at the moment is joining my ceremony. Wait, I'm supposed to ask this guy? I guess I'll do that when I tell him that we have Miss Charm's support. I also buy diamonds from this fella for that sword for Snake and the jewelry for Miss Charm. At home, I make that sword and those gems for those characters respectively. I then chop down all the trees in the graveyard and end up with a huge log pile just cluttering the area. I give Snake this sword and he thinks it's a nice sword. He has some of his cronies with him in the dungeon, so I guess it's time for the ritual. I should have seen this coming. Oh no. I'm his guinea pig. Oh, wonderful. I like how my guy makes a big dramatic exit. You have died. What if I don't go back to him? What if he just looks like a moron after he, just killed me? I'm back. After our dramatic display, Snake says he's in my debt, but I don't have enough friendship with him to get that book, so we are not done here yet. Maybe I have to come back next week to continue the story. In the meantime, I collect my profits and I'm above 12 gold now, so I have the money for those aristocrat papers I can get from the post box. But once I move all this rubble, someone has carelessly left all over the place, blocking the post box. What a prick. Also, my partner has just reached a milestone in her own graveyard keeper game.
I just got my graveyard to 5.
Nice, well done. It's a bit of a mission, isn't it? Don't worry, as soon as you upgrade that thing, you will get access to blue points and stuff, and it does unlock a bunch of new things for you to do. I go and see Old Mate on his hill, but he's still got nothing new for me. I'm not too sure what to do with this fella now. I have another look at this pedestal thing. Snake has the Endless Notebook, one of 6. There are 6 people I'm constantly chasing after, so I think I'll get the items I need if I continue the storyline. What's Jerry been up to, by the way? Hey Jerry, congratulations, you told me that you're an aristocrat now. Kind of. Yes, but how did he know? You're around just because you don't see him, that doesn't mean he isn't right beside. That is so creepy. Is he here right now? I bet he is. Awkward laugh there. This is how you can tell I'm tired. Oh my god, put the body down, you moron. Stop pressing F. Oh no. I make random decoration type things for my graveyard because I'm killing time until I can see one of the main characters again. I'm over 300 quality by now, by the way. I'm having a quick snooze to save, and apparently Yorick isn't the only one who watches me. Oh Jesus, didn't expect that. Finally. Were you waiting the entire time? Do you really need to say every time how refreshed you... I have to agree with Snake. I'm so refreshed. It was like a 5-second nap. We've got a big problem. I want a vampire hunter's edge for your graveyard. Oh great. And he's going to kill me, and he'll probably burn down your church too. Why my church? Evidently, showing off his powers over death and my powers of immortality has gathered unwanted attention from a vampire hunter. We need to set a trap and make it look like an accident. Before dealing with the immediate threat, I go and tell the astrologer Miss Charm wants nothing to do with her father, aka him. If anything could be done, I'll let him know, but while I'm here, I ask him about those instructions for the mill. He's very quick with math, he's done it on the spot it seems. Snake and I have perched ourselves on the perfect vantage spot. We wait for our prey. Yeah, we're gonna do like a roadrunner thing here. Let's just wait. Oh my god, how long are we waiting, mate? Oh no. How long do we need to wait? I agree, how long do I need to wait? He's coming, get ready. Side quests. Oh lordy lord. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Apparently this medallion this guy had, I used to progress the dungeon. Speaking of which, I haven't been in the dungeon since the last episode. It's the day for Barney to stand here and look pretty, and I present him with those expensive papers. The last thing it seems I have to do with him is bring him that guest. I guess I'll have to ask the merchant when I can. After the sheep leave the church, I see I'm now making 19 silver per sermon, which is solid. I make this mill solid again by haphazardly adding nails and wood to the sides, which pleases the miller. What pleases me is that the farmer was jubilant and he will let his daughter go with Miss Charm. Day 181, and I have 2 things for Miss Charm. I have the jewelry she wanted and the papers / permission that Alyssa can accompany her to the royal concert. She says she will promote Graveyard Veggies, which is a banger. Now about those papers for Alyssa. To the concert, wonderful, you just need to correct her age a little bit. Excuse me? We always had someone corrected the number. This sounds quite illegal. Luckily, I am an aristocrat, so I can go ahead and create those fraudulent corrections. Of course, she has one final request. This time she wants a new song. I've had enough. I'm sure that this beta would jump at the chance to impress her. He's elated at the opportunity, but like many famous rock stars, he wants to inebriate himself to make the song. So I promise to make him a special something to help his creative flow. I make this alcohol distiller and I look at what I need. Order ordinary booze, and then 3 poisonous mushrooms. Sounds like a good time indeed. Wagner seems impressed, so I just need to let him be for a little while and come back later. I go and see the merchant and I let him know that we have her support. And I finally have the friendship to ask this guy to come to my ceremony. He seems interested and asks if the bishop is the cheeky one. I don't know about cheeky, I think he's a prick, but that's my opinion. Anyways, turns out that it's his brother. The bishop and the merchant are brothers, and they haven't spoken in years. This is going to make for a wonderful reunion. I can ask Snake about the final task he has for me, which involves the Hunter's Medallion and level 11 to 15 in the dungeon behind him. I need to go deeper and deeper still, and I have to find him a golden apple. Well, I guess I know where I'll be for the next few days. Well, if I'm going to go into the dungeons, I best equip myself properly. I think my food situation is handled by this point, but a new sword and armor is a good idea. I was in Snake's dungeon maybe 100 days ago, but here's a recap. There are generally monsters down here that I need to kill, and plenty of boxes and vases to smash for the goods inside, which are craftables, seeds like that golden onion mentioned before, and sometimes potions. The levels are linear and I can't teleport out unless I exit at the start or finish of each level. All monsters on each level must be slain before I can progress. Well, I'm staying here for a little bit regardless. I sometimes come across nice mining veins, sometimes silver veins, but sometimes golden veins, which is hugely appreciated. As I get deeper into the mines, I run into these electrical exploding orbs, and when they're accompanied by lots of things, the situation can get pretty nasty. I emerge for a moment on day 186, my sermon day, and consider skipping it because I'm deep into the dungeon right now. But I overcome this ferocious instinct and I will do my sermon, which is best because it's that ceremony day as well. In fact, I have a guest coming around. Several bodies have piled up, but I don't care at this point. Also, guess what? Oh, thank God. No more bodies. That is actually a huge relief. No carrots for the communist means no more bodies, thank you, I get a break. Anyways, I give this man the merchant's invitation, but I don't tell him it's the merchant until his brother comes around and he sees for himself. Now the ceremony was about praying for rain for the town, but the bishop seems to have gotten emotional and makes this a ceremony about the importance of family, which is actually him low-key apologizing to his brother and reconciling as he realizes how much he has missed him. The speech seems to have touched many as evident in their reactions. This heartwarming reunion does bring a tear to my eye. I too have a brother I care for deeply. I'm especially happy that these two reward me with 2 of the 6 items I need for the portal, a prideful mirror and a salty fork. So indeed, the storylines are the main focus, so back into the dungeon I go for Snake's storyline. I do come out of my cave the next day to go and see Miss Charm, but of course, I need to go see Wagner first, who's not here. A note in his usual spot says he wants to meet me at the mountain fort at night, meaning I won't continue Miss Charm's quest today because I won't be back in time. God damn it. This night I go to said cliffs and have a poke around. In fact, I poke around until it's the next day before I actually find him. Something must have happened to Wagner if it warrants a response like this from my guy. Now Wagner claims to have written the greatest song in the world, but he's turned feral as a result. He feels Miss Charm will never love him now in this condition, and just then some guards come and interrupt us. At least this guy seems to care about me, though his assumptions are misguided. The guards grab Wagner, but not before he slips something important. He's the son of the commander. Interesting. Now what about me? I got my lyrics, which means I am going to leave him to his fate. Sorry Wagner, you've been used. My place is still in the dungeons. Only 2 levels to go. And just before the next day, I do find this golden apple Snake has been larping about. I see Snake again a few minutes later, as it's conveniently his day. Now he says some weird stuff like, not too much knowledge, he'll have just a lick. What the hell? Excuse me? Do I want a lick too? Hell yeah, I want a lick. No, I'm not. Yeah, I want to have a lick. That's amazing. Worth it. Snake says he finally knows what the heart of the ancient curse is, and he needs a dark heart. I wasn't actually sure what he was after until now. Still doesn't make sense to me, but I do have dark hearts. Here's one I prepared earlier. I hand it over and I watch him with intent. He tells me to wait while he gathers his followers. While he's gone, Jerry appears and seems excited about this summoning. In fact, he knows who Snake is trying to summon, or what his heart is trying to summon, so we wait. Snake begins to chant and he summons his father, and the bloody Inquisitor pops out of nowhere. Didn't see that that coming, did you? Do you remember in my first 100 days I mentioned a burnt down house on Witch's Hill? This is the Inquisitor's house. It got burnt down in the Great Blast. Snake's mother threw him out the window, clear of that explosion, saving him but not herself. The Inquisitor never found his son, but the buried body up there is Snake's mother and the Inquisitor's wife. Snake has been trying to find his father ever since. It seems the ritual was a success. I helped reunite another family, father and son, and got the Endless Notebook and the Eternal Burning Coal from Edward, as that's his name. He says he doesn't want to burn anyone anymore. That is 4 out of 6 items completed. Priceless artifacts in a random chest. I hope to God I remember where they are. I'm waiting for particular days to continue the storyline at this point, so I'm clearing my graveyard of all those logs someone just littered here. What a prick. When it's cleaned up, I put some lawns down. 335 quality. It's looking good. I want my orchid area to look good as well, so I buy some saplings from Clotho. I do plant them, but they're going to take some time to take root and flourish. I go see the astrologer on day 191, but there's nothing new with him, so I have to wait to speak to Miss Charm to progress their story. At this point of the video, I really want to complete the storyline of the game before 200 days are over. I speak to Barney, who informs me that it finally rained in the town. I guess our ceremony praying for water has helped? He's focused on helping the poor with his brother now, and getting rid of the Inquisition's cruelty. I tell the masses inside that Barney has been reborn, and they all rejoice. While I wait for Miss Charm, I study random things for tech points, because I really wanted to know what a hammer can decompose into. Nothing, apparently, but that information is worth a lot of red tech points. I give Miss Charm her lovely song. She asks if I wrote it. I don't take the credit. I say her stalker wrote this, and she seems enamored. Unfortunately, the guy's been taken prisoner. He may not be long for life, and Miss Charm wants to save him. In comes the idea that Mr. Astrologer, with his influence, could do something here. Of course, I have to wait several days to further this. I have a look at some upgraded graveyard decorations I could work in the meantime. What is strange is a lot of the marble stuff only gives you red points when you craft them, but the stone gives you red and blue. I wonder if the developers did that just so you have a cheeky way to get blue tech points early on in the game. But studying this marble plinth gives some decent blue tech points. In fact, I study a bunch of grave decorations for blue points because why not? I spent all of days 195 and 196 making stone grave fences for blue points, so I can afford the cultist perk that lets me see the value of white and red skulls, which is going to be awesome. I gave some carrots for Donkey, so I can see the skulls on the next body he delivers. It's interesting because you can see not all organs of the same kind are the same, and they can vary from body to body with those skull values. So it's the day, and I go see the astrologer and tell him that he can be of use to Miss Charm. I tell him we can save a fellow who's been taken to the mountain fort as prisoner. Allmate says the last time he was there, it didn't end well. When he was there on an archaeological expedition, he accidentally blew up the northern pass, but he says the Great Blast interfered with their calculations. The Lord Commander threatened to kill him at that point. Now, if he was a part of the university, he could direct a new archaeological expedition. However, he's not. But if he could show them how much he has studied since then, they might let him back in. Do you think this sad sack has done any study? No, of course not. He asks me to write him a book. Not just any book, a silver quality book. To do this, I'm going to need golden quality chapters and a decent book cover, it seems. To make the proper covers, I need a tanning agent. Google came in clutch, and I made this tanning agent for the copper quality book cover. I grabbed some steel parts and made the silver quality from the copper quality, and with a random golden chapter, I go ahead and make this silver quality book. I should be just in time before the astrologer leaves for the day. You better be there. Oh, for f***'s sake. I was really let down here because I really wanted the main story done in the 200 days. However, even if I did get this to the fella on this occasion, it would have not been completed, as you'll see in my 300 days video. However, that debacle wasn't a complete loss. That little experience taught me how to create those excellent book covers, and I've been trying to make a golden sermon, so now I know how to do that. This will be the last time I give a sermon with a crappy copper quality book, because next time I plan to have a golden one. I'm making a golden cover as I speak, and I make a golden book with a 50% chance of success. Alright, let's make this golden book. Come on, 50% chance. Come on, come on, come on. No, it's a silver! No! No! I'm not having a silver book. Of course, I reset my day because I'm not having that. After I successfully do it without cheating, of course, I make my golden combo prayer. Yes! Yes, 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 yes! Okay, so we now have this. Let's go and compare this to the other sermon that I have. Okay, so this sermon, 50 and whatever, it's going to be that much better. Oh, yes. Really looking forward to using this next time. Leaving you on a cliffhanger there. I apologize. This is what 100% efficiency looks like on a zombie farm. And on the last day, I come across this rotten corpse, which is unfortunate. This guy had potential to be an amazing zombie, as it started with 6 white skulls right off the bat. I have to resurrect them while they're fresh, however. My orchard is looking very fresh as well. Look at that, I'm growing some stuff already. But before I move any further with this, I have lapsed the 200 days mark for this chapter of the story. I'm getting closer to achieving my goal of gathering all the items needed to repair that teleport on Witch's Hill and be reunited with my love. But something has been bothering me. Whenever I open the game, there are these 3 DLCs just waiting to be added to my library. So that's what I did. It's day 200 when I wake up in my humble abode. Now, because I got all those DLCs in preparation for this final chapter, I check out my technology trees. I don't remember having so many question marks, so there is definitely new stuff to learn. Business as usual, I have a few lads working my machines, and I had one part of the storyline left to complete, which is chasing up after Miss Charm and the astrologer. I was delivering a Silver Star book to Old Mate because he needed to prove to the university he hasn't been a lazy good for nothing, which is what he is, seeing as I wrote this book. In fact, because there was a pause in between videos, I researched that after the silver book delivery, he will want a golden book, so I'm preemptively making that book now. I'll be honest, I was saving my game in case that book had a 50% chance to churn out a silver, and I was just going to reload my game. But I have a visitor this morning. My guy is surprised and exclaims thief. The offending individual reassured me they are no thief, but continues to tell me they've been in prison. My guy is easily impressed. Anyways, this is Marquis Teodoro Jr. I'm gonna call him Theo. He, along with his friends, have been sentenced to the fire by the Inquisition. Surely not all, mate. He said he wasn't burning anyone anymore. Maybe it's another Inquisitor. Theo says they are innocent and not heretics, but victims of slander. They have a camp nearby. They have escaped the prison, but there are others still in the town under threat by the Inquisition. He offers to pay me. I'm the only one that can help these apparent refugees. I agreed to go look at their camp. When we arrive, it's a simple setup, literally just a few tents scattered around. Theo says they only have a few resources, and I suggest they should hunt, collect berries, and even grow crops. But unfortunately, this lot are from the upper class, so they don't really know about those skills. That's when I come in, to source them food and drink. There's someone in particular who wants to meet me, Master Alaric, who was the former Inquisitor that helped them escape. I'm introduced, but asked to speak louder and louder still, until I'm yelling, because Master Alaric is hard of hearing. He asks me some really random questions, like, do I know the role I've been chosen to play, and what did the ancient god tell me when he brought me here? I'm not exactly sure what he's on about. I'm just the graveyard keeper. I deal with corpses. My response seems to upset Alaric, and he asks to be left in peace. A weird conversation. Theo gives me a few things that need to be done here, building an additional tent for more idiots, and a water well. The camp mechanic works like this. Any building and future structures will count as increasing the max camp quality. Refugees generate satisfaction from food and water. Satisfaction is what fills the camp quality, and I spend the camp quality on building more structures. Quite simple. I also noticed something. So there's a huge... My zombies are literally walking just here. And nope, nothing suspicious here at all. And nothing suspicious about making this gold book. I didn't restart the game like 7 times to have that 50-50 work in my favor. Thank you so much, you Luddite. Christ almighty. That was book number 7. 50% chance, my ass. I still buy beeswax from the Bee-Man for my sermons, and I somehow get a song out of this. Mr. Bee-Man, give me a dream, bum 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 bum. While I'm gathering more, I have a think about the food for the refugees. I mean, I've got burgers for those people. I can probably give them a whole bunch of burgers. Yeah, I can do that. That's easy peasy. I mean, those people say they're royalty, so I'm gonna feed them like they're royalty. They'll think they're on holiday. Jerry stops me to inform me that the wine I gave him a while ago was terrible, and that he wants something stronger, like cognac. I don't know how to make that, or anyone else for that matter. Jerry jests at how many disappointments he can have in a minute, but he says he can think of something. I'm going to disappoint him once more by leaving that for now. I'm kinda busy. I had plans to try out this water pump for the first time. Look at all that water. It's not for me, of course. I get a bunch of random edibles as well for those refugees. I'm back at their camp and I toss all these things into their item chest. No water buckets required. It seems water gets poured into the same chest as well. Back to Jerry for his bright idea. He says he used to go drinking with the previous graveyard keeper, and there might be some cognac left in a keg somewhere east of the village. I was searching for that dig spot Jerry mentioned when I come across a villager I haven't seen in my 200 days of playing this game. The woodcutter seems protective of his forest. He's in need of a new axe, and I promise to make him one, and he will teach me a tasty lasagna recipe in return. So I've dug all night and I come across this spot. Well, turns out it's not cognac, but something else that's metal and big. A keeper's archaeological machine, according to Jerry. He says it's useful to me and it can help me get home. I was about to dig it up, but Cresvold stops me, claiming only landowners may dig in the village. I have to talk to Jerry again and see what can be done about this. I make a short visit to Old Maid Astrologer to drop off that book so he can show his university buddies he hasn't been lazy. He says to come back next week and he'll let me know what happened. I make muffins, cause I can. Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. I gave them to the refugees. Okay, here we go. Wonderful. That's gonna be excellent. All these people are gonna be so happy. I go see Jerry about this machine we found, and he suggests we purchase land and build a tavern. It's to cover up the fact that we want to dig there. Taverns have cellars, so Jerry suggests we house this machine in the cellar of this tavern. So we stand to get information from the machine and perhaps a little money on the side. I visit the woodcutter and give him his axe, and he teaches me a nice recipe. I go speak to Horadric about buying some land. His prices are incredibly steep for some reason, but he says maybe buying the land in the name of someone poor and old. Someone like Dig. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, Dig, mate, you're gonna help me buy some land. Because you're old and senile, it seems. Where's Diggy boy? Where's Diggy? Come on, where are you? No, don't jump into your hovel, mate. And is he actually a resident of the town? He lives in a hole. Wait, is that a giant cauldron? I don't even... I can see you in there, mate. Can you, come outside, please? No? Okay, I'll come back tomorrow after my sermon. Last episode, I left you on a cliffhanger. I had just made the golden combo prayer, so let's see how much faith I get this time. From first glance, it looks a lot more. Ooh, yeah? Oh my god. It used to be 37 faith, it's now 63, and our money is now at around 36 silver per sermon. What a lucrative day. I decide to make the refugees a water well, and that's the only thing I can make now. I have to wait for the satisfaction to build up. I go and see Dig and put my idea forward to him, but he keeps saying the same thing over and over to me, so I assumed it's fine. And you obviously don't mind. No, he clearly doesn't mind. Well, yeah, he doesn't mind. He doesn't have a mind. I go and tell Horadric that everything seems fine. He's also dropped the price from 9,000 gold to 30 silver because he's an animal. I also need to speak to Corey and Tress for the building materials. I speak to Corey. He informs me there's a bit of a backlog with the building at the moment, and he's waiting on materials. I promise to source materials for his current barn if he can get started on my tavern next, which he agrees to do. In fact, before the night is over, I bring him all the supplies he asked for. He's pleased and says we will talk soon. I speak to Donkey the next day, and it looks like he's in full swing with his communist ways. He even has a party and he's the general secretary. I have a chance to redeem myself in the eyes of enlightened labor. The party is ready for revolutionary upheaval, and they want some things from me. We will communicate secretly through notes. For now, I must prepare a cookbook for the rat chief and supply 5 juicy red apples for the donkeys, as their morale is quite low. I need to make a contraband box to store said items where the benefactors can collect them. Create a cookbook for 50 ways to cook ratatouille with vegetables and cats? What? Vegetables and cats? Oh, that's beautiful. What am I doing here? I make the box, chuck in some apples, and also notice something. Okay, cool. There we go. Oh, lovely. An apple. And that's a carrot. My laughter is swiftly taken away when I go to the morgue. That body's moving. Turns out this one is still alive. I help free the individual. The guy asks me if I'm the keeper and if this is the morgue, which it is. He says his name is Yurik, that he's in trouble and he bought a keeper's book from a creepy man with a scar. According to the book, there is a locked door in the morgue, which is behind him. Unfortunately, I have no idea what he's talking about. He asks me for the key, and again, I don't know what he's larping about. He states what's written in the book, and I glued the key with chewing gum to the inner side of the skull. I am clueless, but he asks me to find the key so we can unlock this door. I don't know anything about that, but I can make this cookbook for the donkey, so that's all the demands meant for now. I meet the refugee demands next by making an additional tent for them. Theo says more tents will be needed in the future, but also a garden for crops. I go see Corey and they finish that barn in a single day. He says for 50 silver, he can make my tavern within a day. My god, they are efficient. I get the first revolutionary message from Donkey. Glory to the donkey people. Rat Chief can't read. He enjoyed the pictures in the cookbook. He ripped them out and ate them. There weren't enough apples, so the donkeys fought each other over them, and there were plenty of casualties. Next, they want something written about the harmfulness of money, and then 5 faith so the donkeys can regain their own faith. 5 seconds later, I've written some poetry for them, and also donated 5 faith to their cause. Later this day, Donkey has sent me some bank checks and jewelry. Now the next day, I realized Donkey didn't drop off a body, just notes and a pile of components. Before I read the message, I tossed these components into a random chest thinking they were just metal scraps. The party liked the poetry. The faith inspired the donkeys, leading them all to believe donkeys are all equal. Some of them needed reminding that some are more equal than others. My next job is to make them some battle horse shoes and iron unicorn horns. Also a magical pumpkin. I'm gonna have to see Clotho about this pumpkin and Cresvold for those armor pieces. I make a nice fence area for some crops at the refugee camp. I have a quick snooze and get an achievement for my tavern. He built the tavern, Horadric wishes you were dead now. Outside, Cresvold has come to pick me up as there is an emergency in the town. Seems we have a vampire problem, and as I work with the dead, that apparently makes me an expert. The town seems to be in an uproar. 3 people have come into contact with this vampire. After a quick listen to some terrible ideas from the villagers, Horadric pulls me aside. He asks me if I can look into the situation, but he's hoping I do it out of the kindness of my heart, which I decline. I'll do it for a fee, don't rob me. He was hoping for some compassion. He says they're short on money. He's got 3 gold himself. He's got more money than me. The animal? I go and have a poke around the tavern. It looks very nice. Well, at least I think it's nice. Jerry doesn't. Holy sad, it's an embarrassment. Oh, come on, not you as well. Where's the music maker, the gossip, the drinks? Where's the cool bartender? He says I need to go make a barman out of wood or something. I go see Mr. Astrologer again. Now, the idiot didn't read the book he was going to claim as his own, but everyone at the university was excited about it. In fact, they want a sequel. He says we need to write another book. I came prepared and gave him this one. Have to wait again until next week to hear the outcome. At home, I make some extra speed potions because slowing down in the next 100 days is not an option. Now I wanted to make those horseshoes for Donkey. I go to Cresvold and I see I need 2 of these. Those are the complex iron parts, or well, the image of a complex iron part. So I buy 2 of them, but I can't hand these over to Cresvold. I don't realize that I got a quest specific item for this request, and it's lost in a chest at this point. I find myself in my tavern and have another look around. I can make an artifact cabinet and some tables. The artifact cabinet will come into play later, but Jerry said to make a barman door, so I'll do that at my workbench. I've made myself a barman, but I have the most awkward cutscene afterwards. Who the hell is this person? Oh my god, this is the worst time to talk to him. This is Shepard, by the way, a monster hunter enthusiast, one of the vampire victim's husband, and he is adamant I'm the vampire. I plead innocence as I'm carting this life-size doll above my head. He makes me eat garlic until I finally beg him to let me catch the vampire, and if I fail, he can do whatever he wants to me. I guess I need to speak to all the victims to get started. I go back to my tavern with this lifeless doll. Now, how is this going to help me? Well, Jerry says it's Yorik's turn. Yorik possesses the doll and becomes my barman. Positives? I don't have to pay him. He works around the clock and 30 years of experience. I have no complaints. Yorik tells me about the kitchen area and the cellar below. I keep us stocked up with things to sell and Yorik will do the rest, which sounds reasonable. I also need to make the place look nice so people can have a good time here. I visit the kitchen and cellar area and see where Jerry has perched himself, so I ask him about this machine. I have to break down this wall first. Jesus, what is this all about? Jerry says that's just the inventor keeper. I turn it on and Jerry says we need the artifacts to make this function, and we will witness a scene from the past. Okay, so some kind of time machine. There's a list of artifacts, and Jerry says the first one is the statue of the ancient god, and apparently Horadric owns this. I take the previous keeper's body. I have a look at it and I don't notice that this fella has 2 brains. That's really weird. I should also go to hell for raising this fella. Well, he was the old, thingy keeper, but now he's my eternal slave. I make sure to confess, and the masses say, nice, and all is forgiven. I go see Clotho about that enchanted pumpkin for Donkey, and it looks like I just need to provide her with a golden pumpkin. Okay, no worries. I can also grow golden hops, which I will use for my tavern, so that's a win. I make a zombie brewery downstairs, so I can get a maid to make beer from said hops. I also notice another zombie logistics thing here, so any alcohol I make will be carted through the tunnels to my tavern, so that's a win. I have a look at my chest to see if I have any golden pumpkins, which I don't, and I don't realize yet, but I have no golden crops as I've never successfully grown any. So I grow some silver pumpkin seeds and hope some golden ones will be produced as well. I'm at the Talking Skull, which is my tavern name by the way, which sounds metal, and I make that cabinet for artifacts. I then make 2 tables with chairs for the patrons, so they have somewhere to sit and it raises the quality. I still don't have anything to sell though. I expand my storage down below in preparation for the inventory next. I still deal with corpses by the way, and I've noticed a lot of these bodies have dark organs now, and calling back to my previous video, the Inquisitor said that these dark organs showing up is a sign that the ancient curse was returning. Disturbing indeed. It doesn't stop me from raising them to work for me though. I still do some work which is making a crop field for the refugees. I can't get my employees to do this as that would be awkward. These garden beds are the same as mine, can be upgraded with fertilizers and needs 24 seeds. So I come back with some carrot seeds for them because they're a bunch of donkeys. I make a chest downstairs and I dump some water in it, because that sounds like a sanitary way for my zombies to make beer with, not even taking the undead moldy corpse that will be doing it into consideration. I have pretty much 8 zombies working my vineyard, so that's amazing. I have a zombie for the brewery and one to do the legwork, so this alcohol production for the tavern is pretty much set up now. This zombie will always make beers. And I see I'm making my first profits from the Talking Skull. Beautiful. A new refugee has arrived and she immediately has a problem. At least it's something I can solve. She wants a kitchen where she can work her craft as she is a cook. I agree to do this for her as this will help out the rest of the idiots. I make a second crop field for these helpless sods as well. I must have felt helpless because I think I looked something up, and I realized I put those components into a chest thinking they were just metal things. Old mate on the right is the slowest zombie and I really need him to finish because I'm waiting for those golden pumpkins. Now I go and see Creswell to request that very strange order, which is actually for Donkey. Creswell takes it the wrong way. He thinks I was sent by Horadric to cure his depression. Horadric always pranks him like this every month it seems. I assure him it's a legit order, and again he misinterprets my intention that I'm here to cure his depression now, which isn't true. He decides to charge me 25 silver and then another 25 silver because apparently I spoiled his mood. I need to come back later. Oh, sorry mate, you took it the wrong way. That's not my fault you're a... Now speaking of Horadric, I need to speak to him about the artifact that I need. Horadric says I need to speak to his wife as she saw it last, so I do. Then all of a sudden I'm in the middle of a couple's argument. Chain takes me outside and starts whinging that Horadric makes so much money but never spends it on her. In fact, she claims he spends it on booze and girls. Wait, what? I need to speak to Creswell to get some dirt on Horadric because he was with him one night when he came back with a woman's perfume on his clothes. She says she will give me the statue then. Speaking of statues, this guy's just gonna stand here the entire time. What do I do with you, mate? He hasn't moved since we last spoke, so this is getting really awkward. I check up on Old Mate and unfortunately he hasn't grown me a single golden pumpkin. Remember, last episode I was making fatal errors with farming. Yeah, I haven't realized that with silver seeds, these zombies will not grow me any golden veggies. I have to have a look at how I can go about getting a golden pumpkin shortly, because looks like that's going to be a bit of a thing. Now I don't want to get involved with a lover's argument yet. Chain is one of the vampire victims and decided to ask her about that first, but unfortunately for me, she refuses to talk about it until Horadric apologizes for his behavior. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, it's a new thing. I can talk to Horadric about his trip to the town or him saying sorry. Yay, I love marriage counseling. Okay, so short story here. Horadric caught Miss Chang with somebody else in their bed. Miss Chang is saying she was asleep and it was the vampire. And now I need to go speak to the astrologer as he knows about vampires. Okay, that's one argument. I ask Horadric about his trip to the town and he says nope, it's a trade secret. So back to Cresvold later. Mr. Astrologer is first and he says he's been promoted because of my work. You're an animal. You're piggybacking off my work. However, we have the signed paperwork for the new expedition. I just need to have my aristocrat papers with me when we go, which is fine. Now while I'm here, I ask him about those vampires as he had a run-in with them. He did, quite a while ago, before the Great Blast, which is more than 30 years ago. He was with the previous graveyard keeper. They were having a picnic next to the waterfall when 4 guys with fangs attacked them, but they all died trying to attack the keeper and nothing was left of them except their jaws. It seems some strange magic protected the keeper. That's really interesting. I return shortly with my papers and we set off for that expedition straight away. Now remember, this was just a ruse. We are pretending we are here on an archaeological dig because we actually want to rescue Wagner because Miss Charm wants to save him. Miss Charm doesn't like her father and this was the only way her father can show he cares. So we find Wagner. Remember, he turned feral and he doesn't want Miss Charm to see him like this. Now the dialogue is very quick here, but Astrologer breaks him out with lockpicks and suggests we stuff him into an archaeological crate to smuggle him out. We have a run-in with the commander who hasn't forgotten the astrologer. He blames him for the explosion ages ago, which also blew up the passage. I assume the passage has some importance to the people here. Astrologer pleads to save his daughter, and Miss Charm pleads to save everyone. The commander gives the order to kill us all. The father and daughter share a moment now that they are together, and Miss Charm goes ahead and kisses the feral Wagner, which transforms him back into his usual self. The commander is shocked to see his son, but Wagner makes a deal. Forget this all happened, release us all, and he will become a knight, like his dad wanted. The commander accepts. And it turns out Wagner had the necklace all along. He bought it under the commander's name for Miss Charm and he was going to give it to her eventually. Outside, everyone is reunited and I walk away with both the golden angle and the necklace. Astrologer managed to find the angle in his storage, which is quite convenient. So that's all 6 items now in our possession. Now I have all the items I needed for the portal, but like I said, I have 3 DLCs to explore, so I don't think I'll be marching up to the portal just yet. I make another refugee tent in the early hours of the morning, watch my employees harvest their fields of pumpkins, and am disappointed again as none of them are golden quality. I replant this farm with silver seeds hoping this will work. My sermons are still working at least, so that's fine. I go and visit Jerry and I see I've got a weird new dialogue option with him. Try to explain the situation. Oh, I needed to talk to Jerry about this stuff. This is what I need to do for Uruk. Remember, he said something about a key inside the skull. So I offer to clean Jerry with beer to make him smell nice and maybe I can get the key that way. It's the next day and I ask Uruk about these stars next to him on the bar. He says these are reputation stars. I earn them over time and they can be spent on these special events at the tavern. And this could be very beneficial for our reputation as well as earning money. To get started, I will need reputation which generates over time, flyers and a little faith. That's easy enough. I go back to Cresvold and ask him for my donkey shoes, which he hands over and he says leave quickly as he wants to get drunk. Not yet, mate, I have more questions. Like, what were you doing with Horadric a few nights ago? He is a rather unfriendly bloke, not very chatty. I tried to sympathize with him and his lifestyle and it seemed to work. He says Horadric bought new perfume for his wife. It's their wedding anniversary and he wanted a gift for her, so really it's just a misunderstanding. I go and tell this good news that he isn't cheating on her to Miss Chang, but somehow even this offends her. He doesn't like, oh my god, come on. Really? Are you serious? Problem was solved, but now you're offended by something else. Take your statue and give him a piece of my mind. She gives me the statue and she marches off to give him a piece of her mind. I have the statue, so I'm out of here. I go give the statue to Jerry, the first artifact of many, I believe. I put the artifact in the machine and we are shown something from the past. Oh my god! A long time ago, the ancient god created the sky, the earth, wheat, whiskey, and 3 priestess sisters to serve him. Turns out the ancient god created everything we see in the world around us. The people were all morons, and they couldn't do anything for themselves. The ancient god was generous and provided everything: homes, food, water, and even clothes. Even after their deaths, the souls would float across the ancient bridge to the land of the dead. But like all great stories, Love spoiled everything. I get shown a vision of a place that looks really familiar. The vision shows me the story of an ancient priestess and a soldier. These two are in love and are rather upset that their destinies are chosen for them by the ancient god. What's interesting to me is that they refer to each other as Chain and Horadric. The vision finishes with Horadric claiming that not even the ancient god can stop their love. At the date, that was 210 years ago, but that was Horadric and Miss Chain 210 years ago. Either Chain and Horadric are immortal or something is really weird with time here. I am engrossed by this vision. Jerry says the next item to find is an ancient wine flask. The farmer's son has this item. Before I leave, I see the chronological order. That vision I just saw was 11 before the AC. I don't know what that means at this point. What does AC stand for? I know it stands for air conditioning, but that's clearly not what this stands for. I toss the statue into my display cabinet and off I go. I needed to speak to the farmer's son about the vampire attack as well, so this is actually convenient. He says his encounter was embarrassing and everyone laughs at him. The vampire came into his room and he thought it was his dad, so he called out to him, but when he didn't get a reply, he hid under his covers and the offending individual just left, he says. I assure him I would have been scared too as a 15-year-old. No, a 15-year-old, I'd have been scared too. Thanks a lot, but I'm 22. I get myself together and I ask him about that wine flask. He hands it over to me no problem, but only if I don't tell his father about it. Also, guess what? Still no golden pumpkins. I'm yet to realize my efforts here are in vain. Anyways, I want to watch some history, so I get that flask to Jerry. The next vision is an ancient depiction of Witch's Hill. There are some fantastic looking intact marble structures here, and a giant line of people all waiting for an audience. There are 3 priestesses, and all the people are coming here with their problems. I see Chain on the left, Clotho in the middle, and the one on the right is called Bella. I've not seen her before. Clotho goes down suddenly, and she says the ancient god gave her a vision that something terrible is coming. Jerry says what I'm thinking. We're also seeing Clotho in these 200-year-old visions, but we're also looking for Jerry in these, and so far we haven't had any luck. But this is only vision number 2. I need an ancient door hinge and I can find it close to the village, Jerry says. I will also search for the legendary helmet, which is at the farmer's house. Back in the morgue, I offer to clean Jerry with the beer, and he is happy with this. I nick the key that's attached to the inside of his skull, and he never suspected a thing. I give it to Yurik, who waited so long he was about to take a nap. The key opens a whole new section here. Yurik explains himself. He wants to cleanse his soul. He's come into the possession of a keeper's book about healing souls of the dead and potentially healing the souls of the living. He says he got this keeper's book on the black market, and it has a lot of information about this procedure. He's kind of on the run at the moment, so he wants to crash here. We're investigating this room and Yurik kicks this random box, and a spirit type thing emerges from it. We introduce ourselves, but the creature doesn't know what it is or its own name. But it remembers a graveyard keeper with a mustache created it. We decide to call this guy Smiler, and it likes it. Smiler has no idea how long it's been trapped in that box either. After these introductions, I unlocked a whole new technology tree, spiritualism, and it looks pretty good. These gravestones in the tree look amazing. Yurik has another problem, and that's trying to get into what is going to be his hideout below. I need to get him some oil to open up this rusted hatch for him. I buy some oil from Dig, but I also need to find an artifact around this area. In fact, it is 5 meters from Dig's cauldron, which is quite convenient. Time for another history movie. I really like these. In this vision, it kind of looks like the area just outside my tavern. A corpse is being carted away, and it seems like Dig is leading the caravan. The body magically levitates and it starts to hover by itself, and I can only assume it's heading towards the land of the dead. Dig heads into the nearby home where he's greeted by Clotho, and she's trying to warn him about the terrible event coming, and she needs the keys to the portal. Diggis, as that's his ancient name, won't have any of it. Clotho pleads more and changes the subject to his adopted son Horadric, and if he isn't afraid of him. Diggis has an unbreakable will and refuses to do anything he considers dangerous, and right now, relinquishing the keys is considered dangerous. Jerry also mentioned that he was dug up around there by the previous keeper and was named Jerry at that point. He doesn't remember any more than that though. I remembered the refugees needed a cooking table, so I go and do that for them, and it automatically starts prepping up a meal for them, which is astounding. I get back to Yurik and hand over the oil, and we force our way into this hatch. It's a little hidey hole down below, but it needs to be fixed up as it's in shambles. I offer to help clean and fix the place for a little bit on the side. There's also an old stained glass window in here that looks like it's comprised of several pieces. Yurik will help me with this once we clean up this room. In fact, I fix everything in here except the carpet. I need human skin for this, and would you believe it, I don't have a single one. Looks like I have to wait a little bit until the bodies arrive. I have a chat to Smiler because I have questions, but it requests something yummy before we talk. A berry pie would suffice. Unfortunately, I had just put 150 carrot cutlets to cook, so I won't be using this oven anytime soon. So I do some artifact hunting. The next one is in the farmer's house, so I need to invite myself in. He's not on board. He says he will let a professional farmer in, and to prove this, I need to grow a very large carrot. I might get Clotho to help out with this one. I go and ask Clotho to enlarge a carrot. She says this will be easy to do, but she wants something in return. She wants to go on a date with someone. That someone is Corey. Righto, this is gonna be interesting. I repaired this first contraption in the soul room, and it's the soul extractor. Smiler explains it in scientific terms, but we put a body in there, make it spin very fast, and the soul gets spun out of the body. I don't have skin to fix the rest of the machines in here yet though. I do the rounds of my business ventures. I have accumulated 4 gold at the warehouse and 1 gold at the talking skull, which actually surprises me. Good news indeed. What's also good is that I have a second kitchen in the tavern, and I use this to make that berry pie for Smiler. I'm also smiling about the fact that I need to set up a date between Corey and Clotho. When I tell him who it is, he loses all enthusiasm. Maybe I can get his brother to tell me how to convince him. It's easy, I just have to appeal to his money-making goals apparently. So I sneakily suggest that maybe as a businessman, he can have a monopoly on a new market. The market of selling potions. This idiot completely forgets what I tried to do 5 seconds ago and only thinks about setting up a meeting with Clotho to discuss this business idea. Meeting, date, what's the difference? I go and attempt to extract my first soul from this body, and I get a harmed soul. Probably should have fixed this other contraption before harming that soul, but anyways, I don't have a name for this one yet. Smiler comes in clutch again and explains its purpose. All souls are born pure, but over time, they are corrupted by their very own organs. This contraption has slots for every body organ, and once a soul is placed inside of this machine, the sin is extracted into the organs. Each organ represents a type of sin. The better the organ quality, the more sin can be removed from the soul, thus healing it. It's the soul healer. While we're in here, let's talk about this last machine. The final machine is designed to send the healed souls to the land of the dead. It states specifically in that Keeper's book, to mitigate the consequences of violating the ancient contract. Whatever is happening in this room, it seems to be a response to the ancient contract because it's been violated. So a previous keeper has done all of this to mitigate the consequences. I don't understand this yet, but practice might help. I put a loaf of flesh into the soul eater. That harmed soul I've had can now be healed, I guess. Which it is. I get the healed soul back and a sin shard. I put the healed soul into this machine and it sends it on its way, and I get rewarded with 5 soul gratitude it seems. I quickly get the masses gratitude as it's my sermon day. I almost forgot with all that excitement. I make some chests, a workbench, and a soul container in this new section. In the workbench, I use sin shards with the organs it seems, but I'm yet to figure this part out. Maybe Smiler has some answers. I give it the berry pie. It just remembered about itself. It was here when the previous keeper was working in this room. He worked so much he seemed to ignore Smiler a bit. But indeed, the keeper made this room to heal souls and send them to the land of the dead. Before that, the souls would naturally find their way across the bridge, and that journey cleansed them. But the ancient curse had violated this process and souls remained in this world. The previous keeper was determined to release them. Where is that keeper though? Smiler says that one day he said his time was done here. He locked the place up and just vanished. This has actually answered a few questions. I better play wingman, and I go tell Clotho that she has a date. She is pleased. She grows my carrot with her magic, and that's a mission accomplished. Back to the farmer to brag. Now I'm sure he's trying to not look impressed, but I don't care. A deal's a deal, mate. Let me in. I find his chest at the back and I see the helmet. I almost see a golden pumpkin as well, which I would have stolen, but it's a meal made from a golden pumpkin. Yes, I'm still trying to get one. I deal with the body quickly and do this entire healing sequence without letting it rot, and because I was quick, I got 7 soul gratitude, so I can't really let them rot it seems. I can learn a new technology here, healing from pride. I also learned this addition, which is human soul healing, and I can also add this healing from pride pride section to my current machine. It lets me add skin to this device now, so I grab the first skin I see without looking at its quality. Now about the human healing section, Smiler says I need special sin shards that's supercharged by someone with that particular sin. Who do we know that's always a prideful prick? That's right, the bishop. And this is going to be for healing Uruk from his pride. The gravestones just cost me red and green points, so I learn them while I'm here. Back to Jerry with his helmet, so we watch another movie. The Vision has Horadric and Cresvold. It seems they were war buddies, and two other randoms, Jove and Lucius. These soldiers aren't happy about their place in life, and that they have to rely on the ancient god for everything, that he chooses how they live and how they love. They seem to have devised a plot, but it requires stealing the keys for the ancient portal from Dig. Horadric seems reluctant, but he's peer-pressured into going along with this unknown plan. Jerry seems to be enamored by this Joe fella. He thinks he's a cool guy and does whatever he wants. I think Jerry is missing the point of the Vision here. Anyways, the ancient lockpicks are next and I need to go see the miller for this. We also need a priest medallion, which is with Dig, and a legionary dagger, which is with Cresvold. Theo takes me aside and thanks me for my continued effort at this camp. In fact, he rewards me with my first installment of cash, which is 50 silver, a couple of random things, and a witcher's eye. The cook here has asked me to improve the kitchen a little bit because she wants something fancier. I have a look at this witcher's eye and it looks like I can see the past with this, but it only works sometimes. Weird item to give me. I save another soul and I get a gratitude, which I use to unlock another sin attachment. This one is for gluttony. I replace a stone fence in the graveyard with one of those new marble fences, but it doesn't make a difference. I don't think I really grasp the corpse quality even at this stage of the game. I go ask the miller about borrowing his ancient lockpicks. They're not actually his, but evidence of a crook that came to rob him of his invitation to participate in a comedy show. He says if I get his invitation back, I can have them. For some reason, I find the beekeeper hiding in the grass, spying on the miller because they're sworn enemies. He says he's already found a fish hook here. I don't care about this rivalry they have, but I'm going to go see the fisherman because my guy concludes that the evidence is pointing in that direction. I confront the fisherman and I tell him to give back what he stole. He claims the miller stole his jokes. Oh my god, what is this? Fisherman feels like his lifelong goal of being a comedian is lost, but I promise to host a comedy show for him at my tavern. He's elated at this opportunity and will probably give me the invitation back then. He only asks that a drum set should be provided as well, or else his jokes won't be well received. After I deal with the body's organs first, I seem to receive more sin shards and more gratitude, so I think going forward I will work on the bodies first before bringing them to this section. Now I finally have enough skin to fix this carpet. The room is fixed and Uruk gives me 1 gold. He also helps me carve this giant window to the church. It looks beautiful and colourful up there, but it seems there's hollow spaces in it, so maybe something needs to be slotted into each space. Speaking of additional spaces, I added the Gluttony and Wrath extension to the Soul Healer, so I have to find some extra body parts, which are blood and fat. Again, I don't pay attention to the quality. I tell Uruk about that special shin shard we need to heal them, and we need to actively charge them by causing that particular sin from an individual. Maybe I can get Wagner to write something about the bishop to stoke his ego. I finally swallowed my own pride and I looked up what I was doing wrong with the farming. I go ahead and dismantle one of these zombie farms and I repopulate the space with individual farming spots. Now I know I said to myself I'm going to go get good fertilizers, but I populate the space with vegetables for some reason. I heal another soul and I get 4 sin shards this time and 23 gratitude, so those extra organs definitely helped. I get the healing from Lust, Sloth and Envy next, all 3 in one skill tree segment, and this machine now has slots for every single body part. I also realized the quality of these organs actually matter, so I pick the best organs I can for now to use in this machine. Because I don't need faith as much, I don't light my candles and I give a decent sermon today. So, because I got rid of all my manual farming spots ages ago, I never got new crop waste, so making fertilizer actually became impossible to do for me. So I buy some from the farmer. Now I realize why I was growing some random crops, to get crop waste to make peat to make fertilizers. I'm at the camp on day 229 and I make an upgraded cooking table for them. I'm at my tavern afterwards and I investigate this comedy stand-up I need to throw for the fishermen. I have the reputation, I just need to get some flyers and faith, which I can do. I'm about to retrieve that stuff but deal with another soul, and with the improvements I've been doing, I got 7 sin shards and 34 gratitude, so I think I'm on top of this now. However, I do have all the technology I need with gratitude, so that's fine. I throw the fisherman his comedy show next, and I made sure to give him a drum as well. Maybe because I stink of fish, but am I really to blame? Fish wash themselves 24 hours a day and they still stink of fish. Clearly a comedic genius. The fisherman loved the night and he gave me that invitation back. Now York says we probably need a tavern door greeter, but who can do that for me? So I need to put a zombie greet. Oh my god. Am I gonna put an undead? Yes I am. I am most definitely going to do that. I give Miller his invitation back. He doesn't want them anymore. He heard about that comedy show and he asks to be in one of them, and then I can get the lockpicks. Yeah, whatever mate, just give me the lockpicks. I want to go watch a movie, but I'm carrying something on my back in the middle of the day. This needs to happen. I need to run through the town with this corpse on my shoulder. Hey buddy, what do you think about this? Do you have anything to say about this? No? Okay, don't worry about it. Do I need to dress him up or something? He's even got a chain. Oh, that's fantastic. Look at that, he even does tricks. Oh, he's got the moves, doesn't he? That's amazing. Anyways, the lockpicks are here, let's watch another movie. In this vision, we see how Radric was successful in robbing his adoptive father and getting the keys they need to open the portal. Jove says they want to get rid of the ancient god, his laws, his prayers, and all that other stuff. Cresfield yells they want to learn to build houses, sew clothes, and grow food for themselves, but Lucius seems to have missed something because he wants others to do it all for them, which is what is already the case, isn't it? Even Radric raises an eyebrow. But the portal is activated and hums with energy. An individual appears and greets his children. Everyone seems to think this is a joke. This is not the ancient god, it seems. The individual says they are the one to grant him this knowledge to awaken and transform their minds, but he introduces himself as the master, not the ancient god. The plot thickens, but I go follow up on my peak creation to get other plots moving. All the dead veggies are ready, so I collect them all, and I still burn bodies sometimes. Burn baby burn, Disco Inferno. I'm back at making some fertilizers. Unfortunately for me, I get distracted by these new types called boost fertilizers. I waste time by making these new other fertilizers and I'll be disappointed shortly. So I sow this entire field with boost fertilizers and throw some silver pumpkin seeds on them. I hope I get golden pumpkins from this. While I wait, I talk to the cook at the camp about her new cooking table. She's pleased, but she's still unhappy. She whinges she doesn't have any sweet ingredients. I promise to make her some beehives, and in return, she will teach me some cooking recipes. I do make this beehive for her, but I also expand the crop field to strengthen the food situation. And with record time, these pumpkins have reached their maturity. Almost like the word boost means a boost in their growth speed. As you can see, they are all silver. Of course, I researched this again and I realized I need to be slapped for my incompetence. I wasted all of that peat. I have to stock up again. I redeem myself by making the last bee houses. The cook is happy and she sells me all those recipes she promised she would. I was under the impression she would just teach them to me out of gratitude, but whatever, I'm buying them I guess. I have one recipe left I need to find. I go to Clotho to buy some speed potions, but I'm reminded of my failure. I also come across this in the mailbox. I need to contact Wagner about writing that thing for the bishop. I guess he's only reachable through post. So I do write to him that letter and I'll wait for a response. Do you remember that mistake I made more than 100 days ago, which was trying to make ceramic bowls to sell instead of nails? Yeah, I only just finished off that job queue. I think I made the right choice to not make ceramic bowls. I made some crematoriums and I was just checking it out. I popped a random body in there before extracting its soul. That's good. Oh, I needed to take that out. I am so sorry. Oh dear. Well, there was a perfectly unhappy soul in there. I get to correcting my mistake by making the proper quality fertilizers now, which I now replant these fields with, so I should finally get this right now. It's the next morning and I wanted to speak to Dig. He's not out of his hovel yet, so I explore and I really notice this giant broken bridge. I think this is where Dig used to live. I ask Dig for his medallion, and instead of something sweet, he wants booze to submerge his cakes in so that'll keep them fresh forever. A weird bloke, but I can get him his alcohol. On the way back, I see Rosa and I ask her about that vampire attack. The vampire actually did drink her blood, but B again? Group B? It's just like you're all mocking me and then he ran away. Oh, thank you for help. So I Sherlock Holmes this. No one recognized the vampire, so it's someone from outside the village. The farmer's son called out and the vampire didn't hear him, almost like it was deaf. Well, it might be Master Alaric. I could go simply ask him. The astrologer also mentioned vampires at a waterfall a little while back. I thought about that as I was making my booze for Dig. I give him this request. He makes sure of the purity by making a little fireball, but he's happy and he gives me the medallion I needed. So I take it and I go watch the next movie. This vision takes place 3 years after the last one. Dig's reassuring the people about how powerful the ancient god is, and that the master cannot bring the mildest rain. The masses below ask Dig what they should do, but a debate starts when the master shows up. Dig and the master argue. Dig says the ancient god forgives all their sins, but the master replies that religion is the root of sin. Dig says God doesn't make them work on weekends, and the master replies, why work at all, and suggests they approve unemployment benefits, and this sends the crowd into a fit of cheering. Dig walks away defeated. He asks the ancient god to forgive them as they don't know what they're doing. Looking at this timeline, the last one took place 7 years before the AC. I think that stands for Ancient Contract or Ancient Curse. I go and confront Alaric about the vampire situation, but of course he's deaf and it's not easy. He rejects any ideas of vampires existing, but I decide to stake out his tent at night to see if I can catch him in the act. I decide to do this tonight. Early the next morning, I see Master Alaric come outside, turn into a bat and fly off, so he is a filthy liar. I must hurry to the town to stop him, but I come too late and the farmer is in the middle of taking on the vampire. I try to defuse the situation, but Alaric pulls a fast one. Alaric brings me back to his tent in the confusion. While I was out, the cheeky prick took some of my hearing. Bastard! But I am able to talk to him now without screaming. He reveals he didn't kill me as I'm the graveyard keeper and that would ruin everything. He explains himself. The ancient curse is back and that he must stop it, as it's his duty written in that ancient contract. If he fails, 1,000 bloodthirsty zombies will flood the town and the village and even my graveyard. The problem is too big now and he needs my help. I ask him some questions. He says he's been a vampire for over 30 years. He was unwillingly turned into a vampire. He hates this curse, but there's no cure for him. He only drinks blood when he's on the brink of death. What about the ancient curse? It was caused 2 centuries ago when disciples of the new faith destroyed the ancient bridge. This sounds familiar. As the bridge was destroyed, the souls could no longer find their way to the land of the dead. The souls grew mad with despair. They returned to their bodies and started killing everybody. The walking dead flooded the world. Only the ancient god and the ancient contract saved humankind from annihilation. So what is the ancient contract? It's a list of commands which keeps the ancient curse at bay. It was signed by representatives of the old faith and the new faith and the ancient god. Alaric and his brothers have been following this contract faithfully ever since, in fact for nearly 170 years, but they eventually failed. He's surprised that the graveyard keepers are not informed about all of this. We are supposed to be the guarantors of the contract, it seems. The ancient curse returned because the strictures of the ancient contract were violated too many times, like the Inquisition's cruelty, cult brutality, and most importantly, the previous graveyard keeper was killed 30 years ago, and since then there was no graveyard keeper. There must always be a graveyard keeper, which is going back to him asking me that really weird question when we first met and if I understood my role. How can we stop this curse? The curse began when the Great Blast happened 30 years ago. The 4th keeper, my predecessor, was killed in that blast. So there were 4 keepers before me, but this was a murder. We must unmask the 4th keeper's murderer. Now a lot of this information he shares does match up with a lot of the other information I have gathered. The plot thickens and I want to help, but Master Alaric falls ill suddenly. He is a vampire after all and he needs blood. Well, I can get him blood, which I do, a single drop. I say I can bring him blood often so he doesn't go attacking villagers anymore, which he agrees to. He also provides me with sun cream for vampires as evidence as I can show that I got the vampire. Very thoughtful of him. What I need to do is find the vampires that turned him 30 years ago. They question him about his duty and the contract, thus he thinks they are connected to the Great Blast. Astrologer told me about a vampire attack and possible jaws left behind by vampires, so maybe I'll search there first. He says use the witch's eye to see the truth. I go see Heradic for my reward. He tries to dodge the question until I finally squeeze it out of him. Really, this man is quite greedy. He says I'm not compassionate at all. What a prick. Oh, by the way, those pumpkins are ready, so I'll just play the clip for you. Please have some golden stuff for me. Yes! Yes! Ah, that took a very long time. I got there in the end, didn't I? I immediately take it to Clotho and ask her to enchant this for me. I pay her 50 silver fee and I finally have this done for Donkey. I investigate this waterfall area that the astrologer mentioned. This is the place. 4 random puff clouds appear. I watch them with the eye and the first one is a banger. Is that right? Goodness me. Fair enough. In fact, the trail leads me to believe that Mr. Astrologer and the 4th Keeper were having a grand old time. I eventually come across the vision where the vampires attack them and a diggable mound appears. I dig up that vampire jewel, which was all that's left because of a strange magic that protected the Keeper. I believe Clotho could maybe disenchant this jawbone. Speaking of Clotho, I send that magical pumpkin to Donkey. Wagner has also written back, and he has written a little something that I can use to stoke the bishop's ego. I go and catch a snooze quickly, and when I wake up, there's a stranger in my house. It turns out it's an inquisitor. Her name is Lady Beatrice. She's looking for someone, heretics, and the inquisitor that helped them escape, aka the refugees and Master Alaric. I play dumb, of course. Beatrice is about to leave, but she does something weird. She sprays me with something and says it's to cover the scent of corpses. She then warps out. Weird. I might have to ask the Inquisitor about this Beatrice. Look, I need to focus. I go and see Clotho first about this jawbone. She is unable to disenchant this, but she recommends we make memory tincture. She provides me with the recipe and warns that the 3rd Keeper used this mixture a lot and that it has side effects. Oh my god, I have to spray it in my eyes? Donkey sends me a new revolutionary message. I have passed the 3rd stage of earning their approval. He gives me a new list of things to get. 2 cans of black and white paint and 5 jellies of power for the rats and a donkey banner. I get back to making this memory tincture and I need both silver and gold powder to make it. I need silver and gold nuggets and I break them down into those 2 powders, which I then use to make this memory tincture. I have to spray this into my eyes several times before it actually works, and spraying metal fragments into your eyes sounds excruciatingly painful, but I get the memory flashback. It's a meeting between a woman in a black and gold cloak and a bunch of vampires. They decide they need to turn Alaric as he's resistant to them and they didn't get the information they wanted out of him. What I need to do is find out who that woman in the black and gold cloak is. Perhaps she's a vampire queen. They mentioned they were part of the undead hunters. That's a clue. I ask Alaric about Lady Beatrice first. He says that Beatrice seems to be a very influential person and she had taken massive strides in her career very quickly, which is quite suspicious. I then tell him about those vampires and that a woman dressed in a black and gold cloak ordered the attack on him. Alaric knows nothing about this woman, unfortunately. He also asks me why I smell so strange. I speak to Creswell because he has that ancient dagger. He is happy to part with it, but he wants a favor. Well, the favor is to spoil Horadric's good mood. What a friend this guy is. He wants me to ask Miss Charm to sing at my tavern to piss off Horadric. Actually, to be honest, I'm on board with this. Horadric has always been a bit of an asshole to me. Oop, it's Raft Day. So I quickly go to Old Mate Honest Hill and ask him about Beatrice. Edward doesn't seem to like her, but unfortunately for me, his hate is shallow. It seems he's more jealous about her position and how she's the talk of everyone in their field of work recently, so nothing really useful. He also asks me about that strange smell. I find these jellies of incredible power that Donkey wanted me to make for the rats in my cooking tabs, so that's one done. I then ask a reliable skull if he knows anything about the potential vampire queen. He is a skull with amnesia, but also one with a sense of humor, so he just takes the piss really. But he does mention that ghosts might be a reliable source of information, and that I should come back to him as he will go off and ask one. I then make this revolutionary banner for Donkey while I wait, as well as the black and white paint he needed. 5 seconds later, I send all this contraband to Donkey. I tell Theo that Beatrice is looking for him. He hopes she stops searching for him before she finds them here, but he prepares for a long stay if that's the case. He wants an improved warehouse and campfire that's more permanent for their stay. I go ahead and improve their campfire first. This night, Donkey is waiting for me and he is in a jovial mood. Seems like his revolution is over and they are triumphant. Though this is only the first step. They want to spread worldwide now. Donkey gives me a new pickaxe, which is actually an ice axe. It's better than my current one, so it's something. I go see Barney on day 240 and I tell him I have some words I want to read for him. I then proceed to read this ode designed to stoke his ego, and it works. I get a pride shard. Barney is also incredibly moved by this. I also quickly move the masses, but I've been skipping sermons recently because the game has become insanely busy and confusing, as I'm sure you've noticed. I then take this pride shard and get Yurik ready for his first procedure. Nothing spectacular or anything. He feels a little dizzy and tingly at first glance. He needs some rest though. I talk to Jerry again and see if he's made any headway with my request. He says one weirdo ghost from the dungeon has heard of this woman. Apparently she took his leg and won't give it back. I have to find this ghost on the 8th floor of the dungeon, it seems. To bait him out, I need an amulet made of human intestines, some wax and donkey communist hair. What the actual I ask Miss Charm the next day if she wants to sing at my tavern. At least this is straightforward, she just says she'll do it for 20 silver. It's a deal. So I'm standing here waiting for Cresville to start his day. Sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, something something, la 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 la. Where's the blacksmith? There he is now on his anvil, talk to me. Cresville, Miss Charm has agreed. Now give me that dagger. I do get this dagger, which is good news. I go see Donkey when he's walking by. I tell him the hair I want is for putting on my wall to remind me to fight for what's right. Donkey thinks I'm great for having such a thought. He literally pulls hair off his own ass, and that was a simple task. I get back to my movie watching session with this dagger. It's similar to the previous one with Dig, but this time the place looks a bit more run down. There's less people walking the corpse to the gate. The water has stopped flowing in the aqueduct. Even the body isn't floating properly towards the land of the dead. It seems the power of the ancient god is waning. Cresville and Horadric come to speak to Diggers, but he wants nothing to do with them. He says their god has abandoned them. There's no more water or food, but the lads want to talk about ideas. The master taught them everything and they want to start a brave new world. Diggers mocks them by saying try and get the water back. He finished by telling Horadric he doesn't consider him a son anymore. The next artifact is the woodcutter's belt buckle and the ancient vase which Adam should have. He's right here by the way, and I ask him the question. He says it's a priceless artifact and if I'm going to showcase this, I need to upgrade my tavern. But that's fair, but he says he will ask me one more thing once I've done this. God damn it. I get to my tavern with the required materials and I upgrade the place. The interior has grown in size considerably, so I make sure to add more tables so more people can visit, and I return the next day to Adam with this request completed. He now wants me to help him get rid of some hoodlums that seem to bother him at night. They stand at his window and whisper nasty things at him, but he never finds any footprints. I agreed to watch the place at night. I can imagine if there's no footprints. Is Yorick taunting him at nighttime? Why would Yorick do such a thing? I go visit Yorick and he has left me a note. He's up and at him, it seems, and somewhere in the town enjoying himself. I find him in the tavern, kind of saying way too much about his situation. I leave him be, and eventually I find him in this not so great hideout because he spilled the beans. I ask him about the next shards. We want someone with wrath and gluttony. Well, this sounds like Edward and the merchant. We will go for the merchant first, and I decide to make a special sauce that he can use on anything he wants to eat. That will expose his gluttony. It's the middle of the night, and in fact I do see Yorick harassing Adam. I tell Yorick off and he reveals his intentions. We were just trying to increase our own self-esteem by humiliating Adam. There's that, no problem. We'll move on to another loser. Bye. I can't see Adam yet, but I go home and see a very depressed donkey. Apparently his revolution has failed. And now the donkey situation is even worse than it was before the revolution. Donkey has accepted his fate and that he is simply a mule that eats carrots and brings me corpses. I try to cheer him up, but now's not the time. He leaves a very sad communist donkey. I go see Clotho because she helped me last time with making those spices for the merchant. She hands me a recipe that I could whip up. I make my way back to Adam and I tell him his days of being abused are over. But then he gives me this. Oh, for goodness sake, Adam. Not my problem, Adam. The vase shards, please. Yeah, go to hell, mate. You ask me to get rid of someone, and then immediately he's like, bring him back, I'm so lonely. I go see the woodcutter about his belt buckle I need as well. Unfortunately, he needs it for his bad back. For some reason, the beekeeper watched that and said if I can help him, he can help me get the buckle. Okay, yeah, sure, let's see where this goes. He buried a barrel of honey somewhere and he wants me to find it. It takes a bit, but I eventually do find it here. I give it to the beekeeper and he gives me a honey plaster, which I could give to the woodcutter, which I do, and then he gives me the belt buckle. So it's movie time. The belt buckle first. This one is 2 years after the previous one. The masses are outside crying for the master to come out. But Jove, Lucius and a couple of soldiers come out. Jove says he has unbearable news, that the master has been killed by a priest of the ancient god, but the master has ascended to become their new god. Lucius says that with his dying breath, he declared Jove their new king, but then he says something that sounds made up. Oh no, this is a takeover. Something is very suspicious about this. Jove asks the people what they want and he delivers. He declares a holy war. This is getting bad. I use the next artifact to watch another movie straight away. My reaction says it all. Oh my god. The holy war has begun, and this crowd of people following their new god and King Jove burn down everything. Horadric and Creswell talk. Horadric feels guilty to have murdered 200 people. He seems to have a conscience, but Creswell is still following blindly. Horadric hears his father shouting, and he runs after the noise. This is pretty bad. The next artifact is the amulet of the ancient god. The lighthouse keeper should have it, or I could go dig up some ancient shackles somewhere near the swamp. Before that, I find where I make that amulet with donkey's hair. I also need to make that source hair for the merchant. I do go digging for those shackles the next day, and they were an easy find. I run into this dungeon and I find that ghost with the missing leg, but my amulet just seems to creep him out. God damn it, Jerry. I offered to bring him his leg because I really need some information. He's not receptive to my plea. I decide to ask the shepherd if he could help me out with this. I need to speak to the lighthouse keeper about purchasing that amulet artifact. He won't sell it to me, so I get the idea that Snake could steal it for me. But he won't be around for 5 days, so I go make that source for the merchant. He is also not around, so I upgrade the storehouse for the refugees. Theo thanks me for my efforts. He asks me to make him a workbench so he can make things for the camp. It's late, but I managed to ask the shepherd for some help with that legless spirit. Really, shepherd was only there so I can say, "Hey, I have a legless friend as well. Please tell me about that woman." The ghost reveals something interesting. The lady spoke in archaic words, something he hasn't heard in hundreds of years. So that woman is someone very old. She also told him that he can get his leg back from a place called the Mystic Quagmire. Shepard says that Theo's father found a book there 25 years ago. The book is actually the Necronomicon. The book drove him and his wife insane. They were executed by burning, and as they died, they screamed stuff about the ancient curse. I can ask Theo or Clotho about the quagmire. I ask Clotho first because it looks like she lives in a quagmire. She starts by saying, "Please don't go there, it's very dangerous. It's in the heart of the swamps, veiled in darkness, and it will consume you. Dark rituals have defiled the place, taken the innocence, no more beauty, no purity." In fact, Clotho becomes hysterical at the memory of this place. She starts blabbering about the ancient god to look upon her and weep, but she doesn't care. She's lost herself. Her sanity returns shortly, and no memory of this conversation we just had, which is really strange. I go and ask Theo about this. His response mimics Clotho's, though he doesn't lose his mind. I beg him to take me there and he reluctantly agrees, but only once our bargain here is done, so I guess I have to look after the refugee camp a bit more before this can happen. He wants more tents, his workbench and an automatic well, so plenty to do over time. I had just finished my sermon and I'm staring up at this glass thing. I interact with it and I see I can put a pride shard in here. So I do that and it unlocks a little illustration. I wonder if this is what the bishop wanted when he was younger. Well, I'll see all the other illustrations over time when I get the shards. The talking skull has gained enough reputation, so I can get Miss Charm to sing here this night. We have a spotlight for her and everything. It's a good time. The merchant has finally perched himself like a daytime owl at his favorite spot, and I offer him this random sauce I made to bring out his gluttony. He tries it with some bread, and I think the response is positive, and indeed I do have a gluttony shard. I was ready to complete this next procedure, but it looks like Yurik wants both this one and the Wrath one at the same time. Yurik mentions that witches sometimes use the ashes of other burnt witches in their occult rites, so in a way this could also be seen as helping them, and if I bring this evidence to Edward, he will blow some steam. I go see Clotho, who will trade me some honey pots for witch's ash, which sounds like a fine deal. Thing is, I have to wait a few days until Edward is around. Well, he's not around the next day, but his son Snake is, and I need to ask him to steal that amulet for me from the lighthouse keeper. He needs a little motivational boost and asks me to throw a rat race event at my tavern for him and his followers. Nothing is easy, it seems. I construct this rat race table and I have to wait until I have enough reputation to hold this event. It's Edward's day next and I go see him on his hill. I tell him that witches use witch ash for their occult rites, and I give it a few moments. Let him figure it out and he gets insanely mad. Oh no, he's very angry. From my perspective, that was a success. I take these 2 shards and we do that same procedure for Uruk. Again, it has left him tired and he needs to rest. I go and check the illustrations for these 2 sins on the mural. I like this drawing style, I think it looks really cool. The workspace I have made for Theo at the camp looks pretty neat as well. He can finally make himself useful. I spend the next day learning stuff and getting points, so I can get useful perks like this best friend perk. I wait a day and I go see how Uruk is doing. He's left me another note on his whereabouts. He's with the blacksmith today just talking about things, and they seem to have taken a shine to each other. Cresfield invites him in for drinks and I awkwardly stand there until I leave. I don't need his friendship. I got all these people who approve of me. Uruk has come back from his drinking shenanigans with Crazy and I ask him about the last 3 sins. I already know who these individuals are. Sloth is astrologer, lust will be charm, and envy is snake, I guess. We have devised a plan to get these shards, but I'll keep that secret until I actually do it. In fact, it's Miss Charm's day, so before she leaves I teleport over there and I suggest maybe we could have someone teach her how to dance, so that she looks more seductive when she's singing. Uruk somehow gets there as fast as I have teleported, which is astonishing, and he gives her a few lessons in dancing. I didn't know he could dance. Oh, that one was easy. Fantastic. Easy indeed. I'm glad I did this before her day was over. However, I have to wait almost a week before I can get the other 2 shards. I make what seems like the last tent I can place up at the refugee camp, which is quite nice. But this also means the camp has grown to a number Theo is happy with. He's proud they have started a new settlement here and he wants to give me my final payment. He gave me 1 gold and a carve of marble. Ooh, what's all this? Can I make more of these? One thing that has always annoyed me in the game is the lack of bag space, but it looks like I can make extra bags now. Before I make these extra bags, I slink my way over to Snake and I give him this note about rumors of an amazing thief that stole from the bishop and left 0 clues. I make it sound like this non-existent thief is significantly better than he is, and oh boy does this make him envious. A poor guy, I think I may have also bruised his pride, to be honest. Ah, you poor silly fool. I also had enough reputation towards the end of the day to have those rat races Snake wanted, so I can finally ask him to go steal that artifact. I was on my way back there, but Snake again gets the last laugh. No. No! No! Oh my god, Snake, now I have to wait until next week. If there's one thing that's frustrating about the game, it's this. It's not even the end of the day yet. You animal. I go ahead and make myself universal bags because I wanted a win. In fact, I spend a whole day running around so I can make myself more of these bags. They are a little bit expensive, but I do have 4 of these now. It is the astrologer's day, so I go and make sure I have a conversation with him today. In fact, I only have to ask him how his day is. Goodness gracious me, someone get this guy a pick-me-up. That's all it took to bring out his sadness. So later I go see Uruk and I do the same procedure, but with 3 sin shards at the same time. Sloth, lust, and envy. He thanks me for the session, but again, he needs rest. So in the meantime, I go and upgrade the water well at the camp. After my sermon, I have a look at these new illustrations. I look at Slothman, Miss Charmer's lust, and Snake's envy. I finally realized why he's considered envious. I go see Uruk and he seems to be on top of the world. In fact, he wants to travel. He's going to go to the village, get some stuff, and maybe be on his way. That almost seems like a wrap-up with this guy. What's not a wrap-up yet is that this fella never told me about the Mystic Quagmire. I tell him I know a little bit about the place, that his father found the Necronomicon there, that it drove him insane. Theo says he's been there once, but that's enough that it stays in your nightmares. He reluctantly decides to take me to this place. When we arrive, I almost forgot what I was supposed to do here, but then I see those vision things here and I get into it. The middle vision is a magical ice fire consuming a leg bone. Apparently this is the ghost leg and it's still buried here. I'll take it. The right vision. 6 vampires stood in a semicircle. Perhaps they were doing a ritual. The left vision shows that mysterious woman. She's holding a book. It must be the Necronomicon. She's performing a ritual, but for what? There was another woman hiding here, spying on the ritual. The vampires attack her. She's motionless. Perhaps she's dead. The vampire queen approaches, sees the woman. She drops the book. She burned all 6 vampires alive. But a vampire shoe remains. Perhaps I can use memory tincture on this. It's time to leave. As we're about to get home, we are ambushed by a magical rock golem. I send Theo running as I deal with this foe. The vampire queen must have sent them. I need to get that memory tincture quickly. Very sadly and funny, as I'm in a hurry, I have no gold for making that dust. So I'm mining to see if I can get any golden nuggets. I mine until the next day and I finally make that awful thing to spray into my eyes again. An interesting cutscene. It shows a bunch of vampires, 2 of which are frustrated at this fella called Carl in the bathtub. They keep telling him his ideas don't work, but Carl says that he thought this one through, that they won't be nobodies anymore if it works. They plead that they are outcasts and that she is waiting for them, referring to the vampire queen, I believe. The other vampires leave as they were summoned by the vampire queen. Carl stays behind and reaffirms to himself that his plan will work as soon as he gets another loan to buy that post office with the donkeys. This is probably the capitalist that the donkeys work for. So I'm waiting for Donkey to show up, and indeed, his master is called Carl. I trick Donkey by saying that he needs to bring him here so I can tell him that private property is a sin. Donkey buys into this, of course. I'll bring him to you as soon as possible. Are you gonna bring him in a bag? Donkey? Donkey? He's gonna bring the poor son in a bag. I go and see Snake while I wait. Wait mate, you couldn't wait 5 seconds before, you animal? Doesn't matter, he got me my amulet, so I'm happy. It's been a while, but it's movie time again. In this vision, Horadric drags an injured Dig to safety. Clotho asks him why he did it, and Horadric says he did it for love. Under the ancient god, he would not be with her. Clotho scoffs at the idea that all this happened because of love. Bella says Chain has been captured though. Horadric leaves Dig there and rushes off to save Chain. Now Clotho says Dig was given instructions to hide the golden apples from the tree of wisdom. He says he was able to hide 3 and eat the other 2. Wait, the same apple that gave me so much knowledge just by licking it? And Dig, the crazy bastard, ate 2. Interesting. With this influx of knowledge, Clotho demands Diggers invent a ritual for them. A ritual that will kill all their enemies at once. He must write the Necronomicon. I watch another vision right away. In this one, Horadric is off to save Chain. Cresvold warns that if he does so, Lucius and Jove will brand him a heretic and a traitor. Horadric is unmoved by this threat and he goes to break Chain free, claiming that they can now live happily ever after, despite that everything is his fault and the world is ruined. Chain rejects the idea, saying that she simply can't do that with everything that's happened. Next on my list is an ancient pickaxe that Kuko should have, and ancient keys that Adam has apparently. Now I've not met Kuko yet, but apparently I can meet him after dark outside the fort. I guess I'll wait. I find him later and I can buy this pickaxe that I need. Kuko wants something though. He says his doctor is useless and he needs a witch to cure him as he wants to look like everyone else. I guess he's referring to his hunchback. I ask Clotho if this is something that she could do. She gives me a scroll and says I will also need a dark organ for this spell. As I go to get that dark organ, I find Carl just tied up in my morgue. It seems like this guy is ready to talk already, but the moment I ask him about the vampire queen, his lips are sealed. Jerry says I should probably get a professional. Maybe the shepherd can help. I bring him around the next day, and his strategy is making me eat garlic and then wheezing at the vampire. That didn't work, so Shepherd decides to start singing. He must have a voice that sounds like a sistrum, because this actually works. Now Carl doesn't actually know who the vampire queen is, only that she was a very powerful individual, but she spoke like she was accustomed to ruling and using old-fashioned words. Now these vampires only worked for her because she was going to cure them of their vampirism, and the purpose of the quagmire was that powerful black magic works there, and it was designed to kill the 4th keeper. It was a success. The ritual was completed, and then there was a great blast and the keeper died. so she killed the fourth keeper, which triggered the ancient curse. Now Carl was late to the ritual at the quagmire. Remember, he was in the bathhouse thinking about donkeys. But he saw how the ritual ended. The woman spying on them had red hair. The vampire queen ordered the vampires to kill her, but when she saw who it was, she was so mad she killed them all, despite the fact that she ordered it. Carl is the only survivor. I know of a woman with red hair in the village. Maybe she survived. In fact, I go and talk to Miss Chain. I ask her if she was in the quagmire 30 odd years ago, and she dodges the question, which kind of implies that it was her. I plead with Chain that she needs to reveal what she knows, that I'm trying to stop the ancient curse. That woman dressed in a gold cloak killed the fourth keeper and started the ancient curse. She finally bursts out crying. She can't help me because she doesn't want to see her sister killed. She runs away and I follow her. It turns out it was Clotho. Clotho is the vampire queen, the woman dressed in the gold cloak, the one who performed the ritual and killed the fourth keeper. However, Chain says it's not all her fault. She blames herself. She says in the past, she distanced herself from Clotho. She chose a happy life with Horadric, while Clotho chose a path of solitude, loneliness, brooding, and depression, which in time drove her mad with a lust to destroy and see the destruction of the whole world. When Chain returned to her sister, she says Clotho was driven insane and rejected seeing her sister Chain again. When Clotho headed to the quagmire, she was followed by Chain in secret. She didn't recognize Chain when she ordered the vampires to kill the intruder in the quagmire. Chain survived because of the quagmire itself. The area enhances magic, which is why it's the location Clotho had chosen as well for this ritual. When they had returned to Clotho's home, Chain says Clotho had become miserable, insane, crawling among empty bottles. She attempted to kill herself, though she failed but did succeed in destroying her own memory. Chain couldn't abandon her sister again, so she's been looking after her ever since, keeping her secret. The dark secret that Clotho murdered the fourth keeper and thus igniting the ancient curse. No one knows, because if they did, they would kill Clotho. A sister's love is keeping her alive. I have to talk to Clotho. I have a quick snooze and I was about to head there when I get jumped by Horadric and Cresvold. Something has happened in the village and I'm forced to go with them. In the village, I'm enlightened to a somewhat hilarious story. Yurik the Fool seems to have been having a grand time. He got together with a random guard and decided to have the biggest bender you will ever see. All the villagers are complaining about broken property. Now because Yurik has no family, but he was staying with me, I'm considered his closest friend. Thus, all responsibility of the vandalism falls to me. Horadric wants to discuss the details, but I'm busy, mate. I teleport back out of there. I'll talk to you later. I'm going home. That's none of my concern. I promised to help out the hunchback, so that's what I did. I read the spell for him. Boom boom bum bum want to look like everyone. Like I'm taunting him. The thing is, it didn't cure him, but now he sees everybody else has a hump. So from his perspective, he's not different from anyone else. But as he realizes it's only an illusion, he gets upset and says I failed. I offer him free drinks at my tavern, but I have to accommodate him first. So I go and upgrade all my tables so that they look nicer. I speak to Adam again about getting the next artifact, but he wants rare vases for it, something I can only get from the merchant. So now that I have a moment, I talk to Horadric about all the damage in the town. He says go and see Cresvold first. Looks like Yurik had an accident in his toilet. Quite severe, the toilet door has been blown off. So I'm obliged to help Crazy with his privacy problems. Adam's potter wheel has been taken for a significant spin, so much so that it's broken. Luckily with my new bags, I have heaps of resources on me at all times, so it's a quick fix. Now the beekeeper is not a quick fix. Sure, I can fix his hives, but the bees will have to return over time to these new homes. I also needed new bees for homes though, and while I was looking around, I got that ancient pickaxe from Kukul because I was walking past. I got enough bees to fix the damage to the hives. Yurik even vandalized the countryside. I'm fixing the lamp outside of the farmer's house. Even the farm animals weren't spared from his shenanigans. Oh no. Oh no. I provide Ash to wash the cow, but there's no cutscene, so here's the aftershot. Over time, I finally fix all these bits and pieces in the town, and I'm finally done and I can relax with a historic movie. In this vision, which is 2 years later, we see bodies floating across the bridge to the land of the dead. King Jove declares the holy war is over. They have won. The remnants of the pagans have fled to the swamps and taken their ancient god with them. But the last thing that remains of the ancient god is this bridge that takes the deceased to the land of the dead. It is destroyed with that ancient pick. Everybody leaves, and a body that was floating across can no longer move to its destination, thus remaining in this world. Jerry still thinks that Lucius and that Joe fella are grand guys. Again, I think he's missing the point of these flashbacks. I got round to making a Tanner's workplace for one of the refugees the next day, and I accidentally left my gameplay running on day 266. So here's a clip of the refugee working the Tanner's workplace. I visit the merchant and I ask him about those vases, and he had just sold them, unfortunately, to the beekeeper, who is withholding them because he knows I need to give them to Adam. He doesn't like Adam. I suggest we put poison into these vases and then give them back to Adam, which this idiot completely buys. So when I give these to Adam, I simply say throw out the contents of the vases and you'll be fine. Adam finally gives me the ancient keys that are in his house. It's time for another flashback. In this vision, Horadric had been captured by Jove and Lucius. He's in prison and he's destined to burn at the stake as a heretic. Lucius offers him a deal: serve as the new bishop and reveal where the pagans' camp is in the swamps and he will be spared. Horadric refuses, of course. Later, Cresvold comes to visit him as well. He says things are looking pretty bad in the town. Repressions, trials, executions every day. Even worse is that the walking dead have appeared in cemeteries. Horadric laughs at this new world that they have helped build. It looks like an assortment of different things are needed for the final flashbacks, and for some reason I had a clay pot of tar on me. Well, let's watch the next one. We're on Witch's Hill. Horadric is about to be burnt as a heretic and a traitor. King Jove declares that any thought that the undead are running rampant is definitely not because they destroyed the ancient bridge, but rather because their new god, the Master, is angry that some of the pagans are alive. Horadric agrees he's a traitor. He deserves to die, and he helped summon the Master from the portal. Lucius shuts this down and lies, saying that the Master came from the heavens to answer their prayers. Cresvold finally uses his brain and stands up for Horadric, saying that no, the Master did in fact come from the portal, not the sky. The Master was also an individual that rejected all religion, so how can he become a god? The guards are about to grab Cresvold, but he pulls out a flashbang. He saves Horadric in the confusion and they flee. Jerry also shares a story about King Jove I. He had an impatient heir who murdered him and cut off his head, being afraid that the body would rise up. He had the head buried somewhere else separate to the rest of the body. Anyways, I need the priestess ring next, belonging to the farmer's wife, and a priest signet, which Dig should have. I asked Dig outside about this signet. He wants to trade for a rat from the lighthouse keeper because they're very fast and he wants to partake in the rat races, so I agreed to this. Now the lighthouse keeper had lost all of his rats, but he suggests that Kuko sells them. But goodness me, I have to visit the Baron next because he bought the last rat from Kuko, and then I pay 1 gold to the Gypsy Baron to get this rat that I wanted. What could have been a 1-step process for this rat was turned into a 3-step process, but I do get the signet that I wanted. Now as far as I know, the farmer's wife is dead. This fella doesn't like me to begin with, and as soon as I ask him about his wife, he shuts me down. His son informs me that his mother was quite beautiful, but she was very sick quite often and fainted frequently. When she passed, his father had been in mourning ever since. The miller reveals that the mother was an amazing healer and a beauty. In fact, she saved the farmer's life, and that's how he fell in love with her. But because of her incredible skills, people often thought she was a witch. He directs me to ask Clotho for more information. I go to Clotho, who reveals an interesting and sad story. The farmer's wife was her sister Bella. Bella, Chain, and Clotho, they are all sisters, witches, and ancient priestesses. Chain and Bella had moved to the village. Both got married. Bella cared about people and used her magic too much to cure others. She also chose to bear 2 children, but as she was immortal, using magic saps her health. Bella eventually lost her health and her life. Now Clotho also uses magic, but she takes potions to counter this, but these potions also take her memory. I've heard enough. I try a more sympathetic approach to the farmer, that his wife was an amazing woman and her death was a tragedy. He says that bearing the daughter is what took her life, the daughter she always wanted. My guy has 0 chill, and I ask him if I can buy her ring, but he sells it to me for 1 gold. I'm not going to argue. I make my way to Alaric to reveal to him the murderer of the fourth keeper and the sole reason the ancient curse has started. It was Clotho. I tell him it was because she was driven mad by loneliness, that she wanted to destroy the entire world. We know there has to be more to the story, and I'm glad Alaric suspects this. He thinks we should just go and ask her. I do mention that her memory has been badly damaged. So we're at Clothos and we ask her if she remembers anything about the ancient curse or the fourth keeper. She doesn't. She actually thinks Alaric is here to marry her. This conversation goes back and forth for a bit, but Alaric eventually proposes we try a very powerful black magic. Yes, I have done everything else in the game, let's do this as well. We are going to attempt to dive into Clotho's mind and restore it from within. However, this will be torture for her. If we fail, she may lose the rest of her memory or even die. In the spell, we are in Clotho's mind. It's a mini game where I need to speak to each of Clotho's avatars. Each of them states a bunch of facts and questions, and then you have to give the correct answer at the end to help put the fragments of her memory back together. For example, she is the supreme priestess of the ancient god. Everything belongs to her. Her power is limitless. Her will is law. She is betrayed. Her world is destroyed. Her people turn away from her. They despise her. They destroy all that is precious to her. Her disciples, her friends, her sisters, her god, they all leave her. She feels nothing but pain and craves revenge. The answer is Clotho. I get it right and her memory is returning home. I do this for all the avatars. I answer about 10 of these correctly before Alaric says we have to go, she will die very shortly. We're back. Clotho seems unresponsive. She comes to, but unfortunately, she only remembers that Alaric is going to marry her. We have failed. Alaric gives in to hopelessness. We have failed. Nothing can stop the ancient curse. We leave in despair. However, I am not ready to give up. The answer may still lie in the past. In fact, this vision shows Bella and Clotho at the Misty Quagmire. Clotho has the Necronomicon, the book she asked Dig to write so that she can cast a spell to kill 1,000 people at once. However, when she does, the spell does something unexpected. She summons the ancient god, who is also confused and somewhat upset to be disturbed by his former priestess like this. Dig rocks up and claims the fault is his. He switched the ritual because he needed to speak to the ancient god, as he was their last hope. The ancient bridge is destroyed. The dead are running rampant, and no one can stop the madness. The ancient god says it doesn't concern him anymore. Dig retaliates. If we all die, no one will be left to worship him, and he will vanish. Even in his current state, he is weakened to the point that he could be summoned at will by his followers. I go ahead and I watch the next movie with the priest's signet. This is a vision of the ancient contract being agreed to. The ancient god, Horadric, Cresvold, and Dig are all present. I imagine one of the guys on the left is Alaric, and I don't know about the other two. The ancient god states that if anything is violated in this contract, then the ancient curse will return. The guarantors of the contract are the graveyard keepers, and all that signed the contract will be immortal. And lastly, the truly guilty men will be punished. The lost souls will be bound to their dying flesh forever. Jerry says the last item we need is a brick from the church. Oh my god, really? Just take it from the side, I guess? Fair enough. This flashback is when the villagers are constructing the church, my church, in preparation for the first graveyard keeper. Chain speaks to Horadric and asks if they could settle beside the village, which he thinks is a good idea. He asks, what about Clotho? But Chain says her sister is mentally ill and best left alone in the swamp. Horadric apologizes for the terrible things he's done, but he says he's ready for eternity to fix his mistakes with Chain. I'm sure you lot have figured this out, and Jerry does as well now. He is Jove. He claims he helped people. He avenged the master and gave people a bright future. Lucius destroyed the bridge, so why is he being punished? There are no more artifacts on the list, but I suggest we toss Jerry in there, as he is an ancient artifact. The last vision, 5 years before the ancient contract. Lucius and Jove are plotting in the bathhouse. They say the whole town is in the master's domain and that it is the right time. They use the portal to summon him, and the portal is bound to fulfill the wishes of the individual who asked the portal a question. They asked for the power to rule people. The master arrives and simply asks, has the time come? Jove replies, yes, it has. Do you know what's about to happen? To which the master says, I know everything that's happened and that is going to happen. They apologize to each other, at which point the guards are given the cue to assassinate the master. Jerry seems a little quiet for a talking skull. He remembers something. He and Lucius had buried a whole lot of gold somewhere. I go digging the first spot I come across, and I do find a very nice treasure trove. Did you find your alcohol, did it? Elite wine, 200 years old. This treasure is worth 10 gold, so that's pretty nice. I have finished all those flashbacks. I have all the artifacts except Jerry stored in this cabinet. I have a quick nap and I ask myself something. So what happened to that woman in red that came to my house? Oops. These guards say I'm under arrest in the name of King Jove VII, Jerry's descendant. They take me to the mountain fort. Apparently myself and Horadric are standing trial. Speak of the devil, the woman in red shows up. She says both Horadric and I are guilty for aiding the heretics, the refugees, and we are destined for the pyre. The Lord Commander spouts a whole lot of nonsense about, according to this section of the law, you will be burnt. Any questions? Horadric comes in with a fast one. He spouts even more nonsense about another section of the law, to which the Lord Commander simply says, oh no, he's right. I have no idea. Beatrice won't have it. She says simply get on with it and she will give him the best date. My god, what a scoundrel. The commander silences everyone. He says we are free to go, but he tells me I should let those refugees know that this fort is coming for them. They will wipe them off the face of the map. In fact, I go warn Theo straight away about this impending attack. He replies they have one option, stay and defend themselves. He asks me to arm the camp with weapons, build fortifications for them and a watchtower. I come back the next day because I have to wait for the camp's satisfaction before I can build these fortifications. It's not like their lives are depending on urgency or anything. I need to make them a rack of swords next. The swords won't be a problem, but the 12th satisfaction will be. Really? You have to wait until the fort happiness is up? I mean, isn't it incredibly dangerous right now? Isn't it time of the essence? It's 3 days later. I have received the satisfaction to build this sword rack for these people. I'm actually surprised they haven't been attacked yet. I speak to Theo a few days later and he wants a watchtower to help with the siege they will have. We will wait until they are satisfied again. You know what I do to pass the time? I meditate. I know they asked for a watchtower, but something tells me they're not really strapped for time. I do the unthinkable. I build a fence supply for the farm instead because why not? And a few days later, I fill it with cows and chickens. It's day 280, and I finally gotten the satisfaction I needed to build that watchtower for the camp. With this completed tower, Theo says my work here is finally done. The rest is up to them. He rewards me with a few nice things. However, with the recent scout report, the number of soldiers at the mountain fort have grown much larger. Too large for this camp to deal with. Theo must think on this. I teleport home, where I'm jumped by some guards again. However, they weren't sent by the Lord Commander. Lady Beatrice has abducted me this time. She is offering me a chance to earn her respect and friendship. She says she can save the refugees from the commander as he is literally her lapdog now, but she wants 5 emulsions of death from me. These emulsions will be used to prepare bodies of the mountain fort for transformations into undead ghouls, far more powerful than common zombies. She can't make these emulsions herself as it requires black alchemy, and she needs to maintain her persona of an absolutely pure inquisitor. It seems old mate Edward on his hill was right about this cretin. She says the escape of those refugees has helped her because she was able to relocate herself permanently at this mountain fort, but she has something devious planned. Remember when she was in my house a while ago and she sprayed me with something stinky to cover my stench? She had cast a spell on me at that point, and she's been watching me the entire time. In fact, it was her fault that the magic we tried on Clotho didn't work. Beatrice willingly halted us from trying to end the ancient curse. I tried to refuse to make these emulsions for her, but it's in vain. She will kill me as I know too much, so I reluctantly agreed to make these for her. She also threatens me that if I talk to anyone else about this, I will be finished. I need to bring these emulsions to her and say a code word at the fort. When I do, the refugees will be spared. I see that I have to make these emulsions of death in my brewer, so I get right onto it. This night I give them to the guard outside. I almost forget the code word, but the guard accepts me and I am one of them now. I need to wash myself. Beatrice is satisfied and declares this is only the first step and she will not let me run away from this. She does say that the refugees will be spared unless I tell anyone more than they should know. I tell Theo the next day that they are safe. Theo tells the entire camp and they all rejoice. I noticed I had a lot of bodies, which was really weird. A note, it's Beatrice. These soldiers refused the emulsions, whether they knew what it was for or not. They couldn't be allowed to live with that refusal. I have to get rid of the bodies. This woman is an absolute savage. I burn all these corpses. The next few days, I run around, seeing if I can activate any cutscenes or anything. I sleep because usually that triggers a cutscene. Other than the bug text for Theo to ask him about the quagmire, I have no active quests left. Something I've never tried to do was go to the town. New town pass. Continue. Alright, go visit the town. In the 300 days... Oh, what the hell? So no wonder I have never gone in the last 300 days. I get struck by lightning, is what happens. That's the last thing I can think of. There is but one item left on my list, and that's to go home. On day 286, after exploring the entire map and not finding any other content, and with all 6 original artifacts, I make my way up to Witch's Hill. I activate the portal. Jerry comes out of the bushes. He says he's going to miss me. Jerry says to watch my wording when asking the portal what I want. Bishop and the merchant come to say goodbye. In fact, all 6 main NPCs come to say farewell, but it's a mournful farewell. The curse has not been stopped. It's only gaining momentum. It may be too late. Everything will change for them. The portal works. At last, my wish will come true. I'll be with my love, I exclaim. The portal responds to my wish. It hums and cracks with energy. The portal awakens, and my love appears from the portal, fulfilling my wish and reuniting me with my love. Graveyard Keeper was a game I didn't think of much when I first played it, but after having another go at it and making these videos, I can happily say I was very wrong. It has become one of my favorite games. There is content I had to cut to try and shorten this very long video, and I can't recommend enough that you should try this game for yourselves. In the meantime, how about checking out this 300 days Stardew Valley video I made? How about 100 days survived in Don't Starve Together? Or 100 days as a capitalist tavern keeper in Traveler's Rest? Until next time, one for all and all for one. Cheers, Musketeers.